We are rolling. This is Indecisive Cinema, episode 28.
28 episodes, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My asshole friend of mine, David Lofton, I told him I was doing the podcast and we're recording at a time that we don't normally record, which is Friday evening. Just very rare for us because I'm usually either shooting a wedding or prepping for a wedding, or you're usually working, or you have the girls or whatever. So it's very rare that normally we record on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, Sunday morning.
I think they're doing something tonight, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm recording the podcast." And he's like, "Nobody listens to that." Like, you fucking dick. Asshole.
Oh my god, what's his name?
David.
David, fucking dick. I like David's, but not David I don't like.
But yeah, anyway, so we're not doing this for the listens. Let's be real here. We're doing this because we like talking about movies. That's what we're here for.
It's spreading. People listen to it on Facebook.
And we got a lot of movies to talk about. So, we haven't done a podcast in I think 3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
Yeah, because our schedules just didn't sync up for. I was shooting Sunday. I had a Sunday wedding the last time.
Yeah, you've been very busy. That's good.
Mother's Day, so that's
good. And I had my daughter's quinceañera, her birthday, so it was a lot of stuff that happened. But
got a little bit of news. It's not really this is more of a correction. There's a little bit of news, a little bit of corrections, and then also there's some trailers that I've seen that I'm interested in discussing really briefly.
Oh, wait. Before we start, that's Jeremy Knight.
Oh, yeah. I'm Jeremy Knight.
And I'm Carlos Hernandez.
And Carlos has headphones today.
Yes, so it's freaking me out.
Hopefully he'll be on the mic a little bit more than
I know,
usual.
right now my back's all straight.
I made the mistake of never giving him headphones, and so this is the first one we've done where he can actually hear himself, and so hopefully I
can actually hear when I trail off, yeah. That's cool.
So it'll be good. But yeah, anyway, so if you go and review us on the iTunes and Spotify, all the things,
YouTube,
go subscribe and like and do all the shit, and let us know what you'd like for us to discuss or any ideas for the show, and we'll consider them and then decide whether or not they're worth doing, and then we'll ultimately just do whatever we want to do.
Give us your thoughts, but we don't care.
Yeah, exactly. just I mean, we'll see. But we're open for discussion, but it's definitely
we'll argue your thought.
Yeah, we don't really have much of a format. It's really just
I know, right?
Like what have you heard about or seen in the past 2 weeks? But whatever. I mean, it's our show. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Fuck you. All right.
So the first thing is more of it's more of an update. It's not really news, but the new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer has come out, which we now know takes place after Endgame.
Endgame, yeah.
And that's all it was. We just talked about it last week about I think I made a prediction that it was going to be before Endgame.
Yeah.
But I was definitely wrong. So
yes.
That's more of a correction update, I suppose. And then Robert Pattinson is officially, I know we talked about it like a couple weeks ago. Robert Pattinson joins Matt Reeves, who did Cloverfield and Planet of the Apes, as the Batman.
Oh my god!
What are your thoughts?
You're asking the wrong guy because I hate this idea. But then it's funny because if Colin was here, my boy Blue, he'd be saying, "Oh, but you said the same thing about Ben Affleck, and then you love Ben Affleck." And I did love Ben Affleck. I think he's the best Batman after Michael Keaton. Robert Pattinson. I mean, I know we've talked about him. I know you like him
as an actor, though.
Yes, I was about to say we've talked about him, and he's a great actor. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Good Times, another movie. Damsel, I loved, but
you and I saw The Rover together.
The Rover, yeah, that's right.
Cosmopolis
is on Netflix.
He's done some really interesting stuff in the past few years. He's got I haven't seen because it has not really come to Houston, or I think it only played in one night here. But High Life is out, which I would really like to see, but I don't know when. I'll get a chance to see that.
Trailer for that was really good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I want to say yes. Like if this was Shakespearean Batman, I'd be like, yeah, I'll try it, but. I don't know. I'm really worried. Even though I did see that picture of him buff, and I know the last time we discussed it.
What are you worried about? The physicality or just?
No, not even that. It's not that. It's just that it's Batman, and then Matt Reeves. I got remember. I mean, I don't know if we discussed the script idea, but this is like Detective Comics number 27. This is Batman pulpy, Batman the detective, no Robin, no. This is supposed to be a really gritty noir film with Batman. And Matt Reeves is a great, writer director.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing this, but it's just like right now the fanboy community has had petitions to get rid of him already, and they're not going to give him a chance. But I'll be honest, it's because of the Twilight stigma. And,
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, just the star power that
exactly. He has. And I don't think anybody like me and you see movies, so we know Robert Pattinson is an oeuvre. But Joe Blow, who watches, Endgame and watches Batman versus Superman, they've never seen these movies. So they're like, oh, this guy's from Twilight. He's sparkling Batman. And you've seen all the memes. There's 1,000 memes now, sparkling Batman. But I'll be honest. I mean, It worries me because you know why? I think I like him as an actor, and I think maybe he can pull it off. But I think that it's going to have such bad negativity behind it that it's going to be just like all the other DC movies. Nobody goes to see it because of negativity. Not even like, oh, let's give this movie a chance. Oh, that movie was so good. Or, oh, that movie sucked. They're just like, this movie sucks. And then we saw it and says, yeah, it was okay, but it still sucked. You know what I mean?
It's going to be like an Aquaman, probably, like just kind of a middle of the road.
Which is funny because,
bad, but probably
yeah,
not.
because, I mean, Aquaman was just entertaining. It was a decent movie for what it was. I mean, like we already discussed it. It's not going to win any Oscar. Well, it did. But you know what I mean? Like for acting and directing stuff. But I mean, I think Matt Reeves' script can maintain Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Has the script been released? Is that how?
No, it's under lock and key, but it's been done. I mean, from what I heard, it's ready to go. I mean, if anything, I think once the ink is dry, they start shooting. You know, because they wanted to start shooting last year, but since Ben Affleck, was a drug addict, now we're doing Robert Pattinson. So I think they start shooting in November. I think they said so.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited because of Matt Reeves and the script and everything.
I think it's a good director choice.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
yeah, definitely.
It's an interesting choice.
Cloverfield is one of my favorite movies, and I really hope that Robert Pattinson can pull this off because I said the same thing about Ben Affleck, so I'm not going to talk shit. I was leery about Ben Affleck, but I love Ben Affleck, so I'm hoping that Robert Pattinson can pull it off. I mean, I really do hope he can.
Like cautiously, yeah. I mean,
does he look like Bruce Wayne to you? I mean, just
Well, so that's more of a physicality thing. But none of the Bat. I mean, like Keaton, I never really saw as a Batman. I mean, I think he was good as Batman, but like I never, like I don't know that.
Once you're in the cape and cowl, you disappear as Batman.
Sure, exactly. It's
the duality of man. So you need to be Bruce Wayne, and that's what because like.
Are you worried about the charisma though? Because I think he has that. It's just more what I'm more concerned about, and I think it's I'm in agreement with would be more the physical side of Batman, just being.
But you haven't seen that picture?
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
no.
On Instagram he released it. He's cock diesel. He's doing it, and I think that's when DC finally said, "All right, yeah, he looks like Batman. Let's do it."
Gotcha.
But I mean, I don't know. It's like I know you just said that about. I mean, the best Bruce Wayne, I think, was Ben Affleck because the Bruce Wayne, in the future is always my favorite. But then Michael Keaton, even though I hated his hair, he was the closest Bruce Wayne. I also like Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne, but that's it. And we're not going to get into the pitfalls of what come after that. But again, I mean,
we don't have time on the show to argue about the Nolan Batmans.
So yeah, but that's how I feel. But I mean, you're excited for it regardless, or
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think who else I would have picked, to be honest. So it's like that's the hard part. Is it's like I think he's a great. I think he's a really talented actor.
He is. I love his acting.
It's just more. Is he right for that role? I think it's better than like the Wolverine with Daniel Radcliffe when we were talking about that last week. So I think that's I think it's better than that. But I mean, ultimately, I'm always on the side of like talent. Over casting, like casting for like a particular physical attribute or anything like that. Just because in general, I think,
So until you see the cock diesel picture, you might not, you still may not be on board, you're saying?
Well, I just don't, I don't know. I mean, I'm not worried about the physicality that much.
Okay, you're not, you're saying because you...
I'm not that worried about it. That's
okay,
kind of where
I got you. So, and I'm a fanboy, so I am. So I guess we go on that way. But yeah. What else?
And the last are just 3 trailers that I saw while my brother and I went and saw John Wick 3, which we'll talk about here in a second. But during that, they played... which I'd heard so much about, but I'd never seen the new Joker trailer.
Oh, no.
I was avoiding it, but I knew that at some point I was probably going to have to see it in theaters. But holy shit, does that movie look amazing.
All right. Okay, I got nervous. I was like, what's he going to say?
Jesus Christ. Like, every goddamn frame of that trailer is, like, masterful.
It is.
Yeah, it looks incredible. Joaquin Phoenix looks amazing in it.
He does.
I love the tone of it. I love the look of it.
Yes.
It's the opposite of what I think DC's done in terms of style and just it looks like the complete package. I'm really fucking excited.
It's funny because but Joaquin Phoenix has never been questioned because he's one of the greatest actors of his time. He's a great
physical actor, which this looks like it really,
So if Robert Pattinson can get somewhere there, that would be a perfect Batman and Joker movie. If we can do that, because I can't even see Ben Affleck being the same scene with Joaquin because they're 2 different actors.
Sure.
But an indie actor like Robert Pattinson has created or made for himself.
Yeah.
If he can get there, because I agree, I think this Joker film is going to be like where critics are like, oh, this is nominate him for an actor.
No, literally, yeah. It looks
harking
that
back
good.
to Heath Ledger, because I think even back then, I'll be honest. Did we ever think that Batman: The Dark Knight Returns was going to be, Dark Knight Returns? Yeah. Did we ever think that was going to be nominated for actors for Heath Ledger? No, but look what he did. You know, it's like to this day when I talk about any of the Nolan atrocities, I talk about Heath Ledger being amazing, and I see Joaquin Phoenix being nominated because of the way it's going. You know, it's following Brian Azzarello's Joker story, so I'm really excited. I mean, I'm glad you saw it. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it, but and then when it came out, I was just like, fuck this. I'm not. I go see movies in the theater, so I'm gonna like leave the theater every time the trailer comes on. It's just. I mean, I don't know. You know, it is what it is. You can only avoid stuff for so long, but that looks really goddamn good. And it's all. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we do have a lot of movies to talk about. But the other thing I saw is the It trailer looks fucking awesome too.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah. I just had no idea what. I mean, because I knew that it was set as like the kids were adults. 30
years later.
I just know. I don't know a lot about the story because I've never read the book or.
Shame on you.
Even I don't think I've even seen the original film.
Tim Curry TV movie.
Yeah, I haven't. I hear it, and I'm not missing much. But
I mean, Tim Curry's performance is amazing. Yeah.
I don't know much about the It story because of that. I've seen the first film though, the remake at least, and I liked it a lot. But this looks really interesting, and the casting is great. And I think it's just this. Anyway, that's all, my only thoughts. I don't have a ton of thoughts on these. Like I said, I was hoping to just kind of knock them out pretty quick, but. The last one is Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die.
I can't wait to see that
movie. Which
movie.
looks so fucking good, too.
I can't wait to see that movie.
It's just such a funny trailer, and I love the tone of it. And I still think it's so bizarre that Jim Jarmusch is doing a zombie
movie, and you got Bill
after
Murray.
doing a vampire film, I guess. So I don't know. That looks interesting, too.
It's interesting because that movie, real quick for that trailer, like everyone's on board. Rhonda, Gloriana, you got a whole bunch of people. So that movie seemed funny. So
we haven't had a zombie movie in a while, actually, now that I think about it. Like
you mean comedic or real?
Well, definitely comedic.
Yeah, because like Shaun of the Dead, I think was the last good.
Well, we've had a few since then because I think Zombieland was after that. We've had because the whole zombie craze started.
That was 10 years ago. Yeah.
After Shaun of the Dead, because when The Walking Dead started, so like that was. We're talking about how I think we're done with that phase.
Yes, I agree.
Like I think zombies were just kind of played out, and so it's interesting. Like I was just like, I didn't know we needed a zombie movie.
Like he freshened it up. He gave it a new life.
Fun.
And did we talk about the Watchmen trailer? We never talked about that.
I haven't actually seen. All I've seen is I've seen the teaser for it, which looks just phenomenal.
Phenomenal. I mean,
everything I've seen. I may have seen the teaser or the actual. Excuse me, the actual trailer for it. I'm not sure.
The new because there was the one with.
It's the tick.
And then they got the new one now with Regina King's character. That one just came out.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Check that one out, and then we can talk about it. But yeah, we did agree that we loved the Watchmen trailer, right? For the
you do. It looks
definitely.
awesome.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah,
again, it's like it's just HBO's doing what DC. I mean, it's not DC, but Zack Snyder. I like that Zack Snyder movie, but I've never liked his visual style, and I feel like the HBO series has a more. It's just more. It's more polished. It's a little more polished than I feel like the Zack Snyder, any of Zack Snyder's films are. Just visually, I've never been a fan, but that's just subjective, because I know that a lot of people like his style.
But I do. Yeah, but
Watchmen's probably my favorite of his films.
Oh yeah,
so I'm not.
Amazing. One of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the series for sure. HBO's got a great lineup of stuff right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
we're gonna be talking about Game of Thrones later and Barry as well, which I've seen in the past 3 weeks. So.
You binge watched all of it?
Yeah, I watched it in like one sitting. So great show. But yeah, we'll get to the TV after we get through the movies for this week. We've got like 10 films to talk about because it's this just happened to be one of those times where I saw a bunch of shit. Like
we
there was nothing in theaters last time. I feel like I was like trying to piece together something to talk about in the last show, and then we ended up having plenty to talk about because of Game of Thrones. It takes up a lot of time, and we definitely will. So we need to get to the movies because Game of Thrones is going to take a while. So, so the first one on our list is called Knife Plus Heart, which is I think it's French. Let me pull up the IMDb real quick.
IMDb.
It is for French, I believe. God damn it, I don't know where it is. Let me find. Yeah, French. And it's directed by Jan Gonzalez, who I think is a member of. I could be wrong, but I think somebody from M83, the band, is. Attached to this project. I don't know if they were just involved in the score or if Jan Gonzalez themselves is part of the band. I'm not sure, but it's essentially it's set in Paris in the summer of 1979. The lead character Anne she's a producer director of working in the gay porn film industry back in late 70s, and when that was still in full swing. And I don't know if that exists anymore. I mean, gay porn does, but like I don't know if like people don't go to theaters to see porn anymore the way that they did back then for sure. But it's definitely changed a lot. And it reminds me a lot of, it's kind of tonally similar to Boogie Nights in a way, like it's but it's a slasher film.
I was gonna say it looked like a horror film.
It's essentially she's a gay porn director producer that in the opening scene we witness the brutal murder of one of the cast members from her films, who we find out later is a cast member of her movie, and then all the people involved in her production start getting picked off one by one over the course of the movie. So it's a gay porn slasher.
Porn slasher film, yeah.
Which I didn't know anything about this because Draft House played it for a night or something, and I went to see it like I usually do. I got that looks interesting. I'll go see that. And for the first 30 minutes, I was like, this might be one of my favorite films of the year, because it just nails all what I just described. It nails like the Boogie Nights tone of like just the really odd kind of dark comedy that like the shitty acting and the just bad filmmaking, and there's a scene in this that's just unbelievably funny, and there's moments that are really great in this movie, but then I feel like it kind of meanders towards the end, and I feel like it lost a lot of steam for me, but it's definitely, what's really interesting about it is the overall style of it. It reminds me a lot of some of like Suspiria, or even like a little bit of Lynch, or kind of that early Lynch stuff, more like Blue Velvet or something like that. It's very, very noir. It's the a lot of use of really vibrant color, and it's very beautiful to look at. And I love the score, and just the tone of it it works really well. It kind of has like an ethereal quality to it. And this is where I think the movie starts to lose me a little bit. It may just be personal preference, but when a movie starts to, let me pull up my notes here. It reminds me kind of like with Mandy. Have you seen Mandy yet?
Not yet. I'm going to. It's on my list.
So the movie kind of in the third act takes more of a turn towards not fantastical is probably not the right word, but definitely mystical, I guess could be the right way to describe it. And I think it loses its sense of reality, and in a way that makes the tension, I feel like it deflates a lot of the tension, because some of the rules don't quite make sense. And the stakes feel lost over the course of the movie because of the mystical nature of the movie. And that may just be, I'm not as terrified by, David and I actually had a long conversation about that last night, where we were talking about like different styles of horror. And I feel like when you go into more cosmic or like mystical, or like when you enter that realm, I become less interested personally. And that's just me. And I think this movie definitely, it goes in that direction, and I didn't really enjoy it when it did that. But it's often very funny and very stylish, and really an interesting blend of humor and horror, and kind of taking the traditional tropes of a normal slasher and applying it to kind of the LGBT world, which is kind of interesting. Like the killer has a dildo blade, and some of the kills are very like overtly sexual in a way that's really bizarre and delightful at times. So it's a 10 out of 10 at times. And then I think the third act, I think it just really suffers. There's just really great ideas in it, but it's a little muddled. So it's worth seeing, though, because I think it's a very interesting movie.
I want to see it. I love the poster.
I'm glad
itself.
that it exists.
It's an amazing poster.
But that's kind of my review of it. So the next one, which, have you actually seen this? The Netflix film, the narrative feature about Ted Bundy.
And I have not as of yet. This is something that we were going to do this weekend, me and Rhonda, because we don't have the kids this weekend, because she's been dying to see it. I wanted to see the documentary first, and then the actual film. But
are you going to watch all of them?
Why not?
Okay, well then, we can save that for next time.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Because I don't want to impact your opinion of it with what I think. So yeah, we'll save that for next time.
Okay,
let me pull that off the list real quick.
Put it for next time.
I gotta create my Indecisive Cinema episode 29 list real quick, because that's what I do when anytime anything gets pushed. I start making the list. Anyway, So the next one then will be Us, which you've now seen.
Yes,
I've already reviewed it. I really like it. Curious what you think. So go ahead and just get back into briefly go over the plot for anybody that hasn't seen it or hasn't listened to the other podcasts where we talked about it. And
all right, so a young girl is at a carnival with her, I don't want to say unattentive parents, but basically
I think it's making a very, that's definitely part of the point. It's trying to make, that they're not paying attention.
She wanders off into some type of creepy haunted house, and she sees a double or doppelganger of herself, and then cut to the current time, present time.
This was like 20 years in the past, probably 20 early 80s or something.
Yeah, that happened in the mid 80s, and then now it's the current time, and she's married and she has 2 children, and they go to the lake, which is close to where this happened. She doesn't want to go. She goes anyway. Make a long story short, they come across doppelgangers of themselves, and we find out that everyone in the town are experiencing, or actually across the whole world, we find out that the doppelgangers of other people are taking over. Not really taking over, but they are like.
For spoilers' sake, we won't get into like what their intentions are.
Yeah, but I will say this:
there's a motive at play here.
We won't spoil even. The movie came out 3 months ago. But I will say this: what I didn't like, I loved it. But what I didn't like was that it was so predictable. Like I knew from the minute we saw that opening scene, and then like later on, and the main character's ambivalence. I already knew what happened. And it's like, Gloriana's birthday. This is her birthday movie. And she's sitting next to me, and I called it. She says, no. And what I love about Jordan Peele is that the bottom line is that, for people who don't like scary movies per se, this is more thriller, and it ends up being like a Twilight Zone episode, which is now I understand why he's doing the Twilight Zone series on CBS All Access. But I kind of called it early, and then what he did great was that he threw me off at the end, like he threw something in there. Where I was like, I was wrong, but then I was right. but I loved it. I love the acting. I love his style. He has an amazing style. Just Jordan Peele.
Yeah, the visual style.
The visual's amazing,
but also just the tone of everything. Yes. The score is really great. Yeah,
yes, and everybody was good in it. Tim Heidecker. I love Tim Heidecker. Yeah. I love seeing him in
their
movies.
Relationship. It's him and what's her name from Mad Men. What's her?
The girl who plays in Handmaid's Tale.
She's great.
Yeah. I love her. They were amazing.
On her name.
I know, right? I can't believe that she's in everything.
Elizabeth Moss.
Elizabeth Moss. Yes, I should be checking here instead. I'm not. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it very much. So since we're not doing spoilers, I mean, I just got kind of mad that I did call it, and then I'm glad at the end, like he almost threw me off where I was like, oh, I didn't call it, but then I called it.
But it's still the execution of all the things, regardless, is so.
The final scene is amazing. Yeah,
it's
a great shot. The last shot. Wait, is the last shot? No, because the last shot's actually the Hands Across America. Yeah. No, because it's the car, and then we cut to the Hands Across America, or is it the Hands Across America cut to the car?
I think it's to the car.
Okay, so then that's an amazing ending.
It's the shot of the kid.
Yeah, the kid with his mom. Yeah, so I did love the ending. I thought it was a great ending, and I'm very impressed. I think,
and for a second feature after coming off of Get Out, I mean, this is.
And I'll be honest, I love this film more than I love Get Out.
I would also agree. I love Get Out, but yeah, I think I think
Us was a better film.
A more impressive technical achievement and
Agreed.
Directorial achievement. I just think it's a really damn good movie.
Because Get Out is very good, but like I said, the style and the tone and his shots and everything was better in Us.
The later stuff in Get Out, I think, is really well done. But like as far as like cinematography and like concepts go. Mm-hmm. Like when he's in the chair and all that kind of stuff, all that stuff's like really well done.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think Us is so consistently really impressive to look at.
Agreed, yes.
Even like the opening shots with the carnivals, like the carnival, like there's a lot of like negative space with the girl in the bottom third of the frame.
Yes.
And she's like a small little girl, and just the way that the camera's really low to the ground with her, and just kind of it's very.
And the colors he does colors amazing. The colors inside the haunted house or the fun house, and then the colors inside the vacation home, and the browns are browns, beige are beige, and I just thought it was amazing. Yeah.
And the movie doesn't have a ton of different set pieces, but I think it like really it balances all of its, like it has like 5 set pieces. It's like
exactly.
The getaway house, the beach, the carnival, and that's about it. I mean, it's really,
exactly.
But so like I think I described, like, I don't know if I said this in my review, but it doesn't feel like a large budget film until like midway through the second act, probably halfway through the movie. And then it, like, all of a sudden its budget comes out.
Yes.
And it's really wonderful. I just thought, I was really impressed that the film kind of hid that from us, even in the trailers and everything. It's just really impressive.
Yes, agreed.
So yeah, glad you liked it though.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it. The other thing that I actually kind of enjoyed is Detective Pikachu, which I mean, I don't know that this is a movie that anybody really cared for or wanted.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And I think when the trailer came out, this is an interesting. I had an interesting experience with this movie, not because the trailer's not even. There's nothing wrong with the trailer, even like other than a lot of people hated Ryan Reynolds' voice.
That's what I hated. Yeah, that's what everyone hated. I think.
But the whole time I was the entire time I was watching this movie, I kept thinking like, who would I replace him with? And I don't think this movie would work as well without Ryan Reynolds, even though I totally understand why it's like clearly Ryan Reynolds' voice.
Yes.
And after Deadpool, it's hard to
exactly. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But this movie's really actually fairly well written, at least from a dialogue standpoint. I think the story is kind of messy. I mean, it's hard to do a story for Pokemon. Like it just is not a thing that has like a really dense or
agreed.
There's not a lot of lore in Pokemon. It's just I love those games. I've played them. I played one when I was in Chicago this past month, and when the movie started, I just had no idea what to expect from this. And reviews were kind of mixed, but not horrible.
Yeah.
And like I said, the trailer looked interesting. I was like, if you're gonna do a Pokemon movie, that's an interesting way to do it, like a Detective Pikachu. Yeah. And I think that's what works really well. It's just the overall tone of it. Like it's surprisingly really well shot, and just like the use of lighting, and it's shot like a modern noir. Like it has really interesting use of neon lighting and like rain and just kind of
like Blade Runner.
It has 7. Yeah, but in a Pokemon world, I just don't expect that. And so it's an interesting blend of style, and I don't know. I guess I could talk about just briefly what the plot is. I mean, it's kind of a nonsensical plot.
That's JC's birthday movie next week, so I'll see it next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a city where Pokemon and humans live together, and there's and I won't spoil what Pokemon it is, but there's a Pokemon being tested on by scientists, and it may or may not have escaped. And that's the opening scene. The opening film. Yeah. This Pokemon that I'm talking about escapes from captivity and poses a threat to this balance between human and Pokemon. In this city, the city's called Rhyme, I believe. Yeah, Rhyme. Rhyme's the city. And it's... So what I like a lot about it is actually, and this movie's not it's not amazing, but it has a lot going for it. And it reminds me a lot of Wreck-It Ralph in a way, in the way that it builds its world, and the way that it has a lot of interesting little details, the way it uses particular Pokemon, like I think it's Machoke or Machamp, I forget which one, that has 4 arms and he's directing traffic, and it's like, oh, that's a neat use of that Pokemon. The Pokemon, yeah. And Wreck-It Ralph does a lot of it. It has these funny little details in its world that it creates, and I think this movie does a really good job of accomplishing the same thing. And this main character, I forgot the actor's name. I don't think I wrote it down.
Justice, the lead actor.
Yeah, lead character though is kind of he's a loner.
Yeah.
He suffers the loss of his kind of estranged father, which is what brings him into. He goes to his father's apartment, and that's where he sees Pikachu, voiced by Ryan Reynolds. And the two of them kind of they think that something might be off in regards to his father's death, and so they go and investigate. And that's kind of the finishing of the whole plot synopsis of the movie. His
name is Justice Smith, and he plays Tim Goodman. And so I don't know if you spoiled something. What? I thought the father was missing, or he was dead.
He's dead. He's dead.
Oh, okay.
That's the plot of the movie.
Oh, I thought that because he said, "Well, all right, you go on." I mean, not that. I thought it just seemed like he said, "Well, help me find so and so. We can find your dad or something." That's what it says in the trailer, doesn't it?
I mean, at that point in the film, they think he may not be dead.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's all I'll say. So that's what begins the detective.
Okay, yeah,
but he is killed in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, okay, so we do see that. Okay.
It is off screen, but there's no way to not this. The plot of this movie is completely predictable. So, but it is fun. It's a fun movie, and I think the whole Ryan Reynolds thing is the kind of comedic shtick that he's doing is it's kind of a tame Deadpool, it's similar in tone, kind of snarky and funny, but it's it's at times very funny. Like the individual scenes are written very well, and I think I was just surprised I think overall at how much love and care was put into this production. Which is why it's odd that I feel like it had a big push when they first announced it, and then when the internet just didn't. It's kind of like the Sonic thing when Sonic came out, and the internet was just like, we don't need this. I feel like they released it 2 weeks after Avengers came out, which seems like a really bad time for this movie. I just feel like I feel like this movie was made with love and care, and there's a lot of interesting details that I don't know, like for instance, and I have a whole list here, but the animation is done really well, like to a point where there was little details that I noticed. I was like, that's really impressive. Like the fact that like people, like the integration of Pokemon into the world, and not just in the from a writing standpoint, but like the actual CG of, you know, integrating people and Pokemon together. Like the actors in the movie cast shadows on the Pokemon. It's like somebody had to have animated that, which is interesting. And then there's little details like, I don't know, Pikachu takes a sip of, he loves coffee, takes a sip of coffee, and like a little droplet of it's on his, like on his chin, and it drips off into the cup. And I was like, that's like, there's just little animation things that I was like, somebody actually animated that, and they like, it helps build this world and make it feel lived in and real. And, I don't know. Pikachu jumps on a nightstand, and when he does it, there's like a little squeak that, you know, like the sound design and everything. This movie's really well produced, and that's why I'm so confused by why it was released when it was. I know that it's May. So
you're saying you should have waited till June when the kids were out of school, a month away from.
I think it just got overshadowed by Endgame. I think, you know, and so if this had come out,
is it not doing well or something? But
I don't know. I don't think so. It's not. It's definitely, people aren't talking about it. That's for damn sure.
Well, that's true. I give you that.
This has come and gone, and it just. You know, I don't know, or even like Mr. Mime is in the trailer.
I love that.
One of my favorite Pokemon. I love Mr. Mime, and he's like he is doing. It's like he doesn't talk, and so he's only miming the things, and like they add in Foley sounds for all the things he's miming, which is kind of neat. And again, it's just like there's so many interesting details that make it seem like this was made by people who know Pokemon and love Pokemon. And that's why I was just so confused by my experience with this.
I got you.
There's a great scene where they interrogate Mr. Mime to try and find out what's happening, and they end up like miming threats at him because he doesn't understand, like he can't communicate with them without miming, hand signals and stuff. And there's an illegal underground Pokemon fighting ring, and Magikarp is used really well. There's just this movie, again, it gets the Pokemon stuff really right. I think what it really lacks is a story. I think the story just is muddled, and there's a point in the middle of the movie where I was just like, I don't care about any of this stuff. I just want to see the people interacting with Pokemon in the real world. And but it does end pretty strongly. The plot's very similar to that of Batman. I forget which Batman it is. It's either Batman or Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, with the Joker's balloon plot is like Batman, totally ripped off in this movie. But it's still well executed, and it's still fun. And I was interested in the way it concluded, and I thought it was just, it felt like a nice, I don't know. I thought, like, for a Pokemon movie, which is not something I ever thought I'd even need in my life, I was pleasantly surprised.
I got you.
So anyway, that's my Pokemon review. It's good.
We'll talk about it. When I see it next week, we'll talk about it in the next show.
I mean, there's a lot of decent films out. I don't know if I'd put it up there on the top of the list as far as what's in theaters currently, but I think I was pleasantly surprised. So
good.
Anyway, what's next on our list?
John Wick 3.
John Wick 3, which I also really enjoyed. John Wick 3's, I mean, this is a movie that's kind of hard to talk about because you know exactly what it is if you've seen any of them, but what's so goddamn impressive about John Wick 3, and forget all the plot. Who cares? I mean, he's been excommunicado or whatever it's called, and so everybody's going to try and kill John Wick, and that gives us a good sequel, right? I don't know why this movie wasn't called Excommunicado. That's another thing that's really dumb. But anyway, what I like about it is this movie, it's like they doubled the budget. I don't know what the actual budget was, but like every goddamn shot is so impressive. Like just the technical achievement that this is at times is just jaw dropping. I mean, there's the whole opening act takes place like in New York City in the rain, and it's like it's unbelievable how well done this movie is, and the stunts are amazing as you would expect. Yeah. They find ways to elevate the material past just a bunch of people shooting each other. There's a great scene in an antique like gun store, and they have like the problem is all the guns are like single shot bullets. and so they like, once they run out of ammo, they end up like throwing knives at each other, and they're breaking the glass to pull out weapons out of these cabinets in order to fight with. And it's like, that's creative and fun and exciting. And then it's just really stylish and well executed as well on top of all those things. And there's definitely some time, because there's a fight scene every 3 minutes in this movie. There's definitely I feel like towards the end, like you glaze over a little bit. Like but the scenes are so well done that like each individual scene, you're just like, I can't believe this is on screen. You know, I don't know that this ever gets, like, if we're comparing it to something like The Raid, I don't know that it ever accomplishes. These movies have never gotten as good as that for me.
Of course I am. But
there's definitely individual sequences that are so damn impressive, and so if you like John Wick, you got to see this.
Yeah, I never saw part 2. I mean, I loved part 1, and I remember it was when my dad passed away. I was in New York, and I remember he bought bootlegs on the corner, and my mother had a stack, and I watched it, and I was so impressed. It was really good. Never saw part 2, but then part 3 comes out, so I gotta catch part 2, and then they just greenlit part 4, which comes out next year. So it's like,
no, I think it's is it 2020? I forget when. I think it's 2021. I think we got 2 years.
Is it already? Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Because you could make these movies in a day if you wanted.
Well, but that's. I don't think so. They're becoming so big in scope.
Okay, so you're saying
production that which I love. That's what I want. Yeah. Like, I want this to be the Mission Impossible type franchise where they're constantly topping themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, ultimately, this movie's real. I mean, this is like Best Picture nomination for cinematography and production. Like, this is that level of scale. Yeah. I mean, it's just immaculate. The use of camera movement to kind of blend, and you follow all of it. It feels so. I don't like. They're even like, you've seen the first one.
Yeah, of course.
In the first one, do they show the? I don't know if they. And then I know in John Wick 2, there's a setting. It's like where all of the hits. The transaction. So like if somebody orders a hit, it goes to this place. It's like a library. It looks like a treasury almost. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of people on computers typing stuff out, and then they'll like draw it on a board. And even like these scenes are executed with like these amazing dolly shots, and like they'll, have this like great tracking dolly shot of like 20 or 30 extras typing away on these computers. Yeah. And then they'll move that into like a close up of somebody grabbing a piece of paper and like setting on and it's all so fluid and it's just so damn impressive from a technical standpoint that I hope that they don't start rushing these movies. I hope that they take the time to make them at the level that they have. And I know you haven't seen the second one, but the second one like doubles the scope, and then the third one, doubles the scope again of the story and of the set pieces and all the things. And the only complaint I would say I have with it is at times the stakes feel confusing, and it's somewhat because of the way that these films construct. Like, I don't know, he has a medallion that is used as a ticket for something, and it doesn't really matter, but you don't know what it is. Like, you see it early in the movie, and then like you don't know what it is until it gets used, and the movie like makes up the rules for what it means, like almost on spot. Like it's like he's able to go from here to here because he has this thing that we've never seen before. That like, and it's just the rules feel a little convoluted and a little contrived in order to get us from set piece to set piece. But that's a minor complaint in a movie is for a third film. I mean, it's just I couldn't ask for more from an action franchise that is only getting better.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's about all I have to say about it. But it's if you like John Wick, you got to see these movies. They're great. So anyway, I think the next one on our list is Dumbo, which I have not seen. You saw this past week, so
yeah. So So with all the recent live action remakes of classic Disney animated films, I mean, I think Beauty and the Beast was like the pinnacle so far.
I guess.
And then you didn't like it, but I loved it.
It's fine.
So this one, I mean, you got Aladdin and you got Lion King coming out. So those are probably the big guns.
Which all look just kind of well done, but like, do we need this?
Don't even get me started. I'm glad Rhonda's not here because Rhonda would be upset. But and this is what bothered me because I didn't have any really care about I had no preconceived notion. I said, let me go see this movie anyway. Tim Burton, and then you had the cast of Batman Returns in it. You had both Danny DeVito and Michael Keaton. It was just, I mean, whatever. It was like, it was a waste. It was
Dumbo is?
Yeah. It was like, I mean, and getting to, to get into the, Tim Burton's a good director, but it's like, how many times we're going to see the same thing over and over again? You know what I mean? I mean, his shots, with the darkness over the light, scenes where, when the sunrise or sunset, it's all this kind of same. And like, I'm trying, I want you to see it just to see if I'm just being an idiot, but it's like, there was nothing in the movie that I liked. It's like, Colin Farrell, his character's okay. It was kind of like all kind of formulaic, like, he doesn't know how to deal with his kids. And I'm like, well, let's, whatever, I guess. And then what's her name? The actress that her daughter's in this movie. Oh my God. One of the reasons why I hated The Happening, even though now I love watching it as one of the good bad movies, is Zoe Chanel in the movie, because she's such a robot in The Happening.
She is awful in that movie.
Yeah, and this little girl is the same. It's like there's no, she has no other facial expression but of like a doughy-eyed girl who like is very like it's just it was just so bad. And then, like the Dumbo stuff, like maybe, the whole Baby Mine song, which is the only song in the film. And it's not even done as well as the animated thing. It's like really quick. And then like, the way he just expand, there's a whole thing about caging the animals, the whole thing about, against elephant abuse or any type of animal abuse. I mean, I did like the Disney World, the Tim Burton's version of a Disney World that he does in this film. Michael Keaton's character is the Walt Disney, and he has this giant, attraction theme park. And I liked, I said, imagine if we do give Tim Burton money to make an amusement park, it would be this. But even so, there was nothing
memorable,
yeah. Like besides the badness, like this little girl drove me insane. She didn't do anything different throughout the whole film. Her tone, her facial expressions, I took it out. And then, like I said, Colin Farrell, his character does become a human being, or he starts to act at the end of the film. And what's her name? The lady, Eva. Oh man, I got to start looking for her.
Eva Mendes?
No, I wish. I like Eva Mendes. Oh my God, the actress who is in the Peculiar Mrs. Peregrine's Peculiar Children, whatever. She was good in it. But again, she plays a one note. I'm going to tell you right now. She played another one note character. Her name is Eva Green. There you go, Eva Green.
Oh, she was in one of the three. Wasn't she in 300 or something?
Was she?
She's the villain in something. I've never been a huge fan. I'm trying to think what I saw her in
she was.
I know you're talking about that.
Yeah, but she's one note till the end, and then like Alan Arkin's in the movie, and he does nothing in it either. He's like in it real quick. It just it comes, it goes. Nothing like if you like Aladdin and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, they all are like shot for shot remakes of their animated things, where this one, I could, okay, I'll say, hey, Tim Burton, cool for you that you're trying to do something different, but it's just a movie. It's not even like calling it Dumbo is ridiculous. It's like there's nothing Dumbo about the movie. I mean, except for one scene. And other than that, it's like, I don't know. When you see it, you let me know. Like I said, I'm not really excited to see Aladdin either. My Gloriana went to see it tonight with her sister. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope Aladdin gets back to the Beauty and the Beast type thing where it's a shot for shot. I mean, I don't know if people don't want to see shot-for-shot live-action remakes like Beauty and the Beast, though they added like a couple of things. But I mean, I don't mind it if it's not. But Dumbo was just so drastically different that it wasn't even a Dumbo film. It's just, I mean, calling it Dumbo was stupidity. But anyway, that's how I felt. I mean, Danny DeVito's like, he's in it, but he plays the same old one-note character. Michael Keaton's this evil villain guy. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I was very upset because I thought it would be okay because of Tim Burton, maybe. But anyway, but that's my take on Dumbo. I mean,
interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised. I mean, I guess I didn't need that movie, so I guess I don't.
Yeah,
really,
exactly. Yeah, like.
But I mean,
they didn't need to make it. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, when they don't need to make Aladdin or any of that shit either. I mean, I guess I'm not. If those movies ended up, my reviews are mixed on Aladdin, so I don't know if it's any good, but it doesn't look great, and that's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time.
Really?
Like, I love Aladdin,
Yeah.
and it's like, do we need more of these? Like, I just feel like they work better as animations, and they always have. And I mean, even with the great special effects and great technical achievements of all these movies, I don't care. So anyway. What's next?
Predator.
I forgot to put. I'm debating whether or not I even want to talk about Predator. I mean, there's not much to talk about. Like
it's on HBO. I was
Predator,
gonna watch it, but
Predator goes to Earth because I guess the plot is so nonsensical. It's like Predator goes to Earth and he's being chased by other bigger predators, and he starts killing people on Earth because of I guess it's a spoiler, so I won't say like what the reasoning is for why the predators are there, but they interact with the military, and there's a lot of people being killed, and that's the plot of the 2018 Predator.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing of note to talk about is just how, like, this is such a, my friend described, Alex described the most recent King Kong is such a movie's movie. And I was like, I felt the same way about this. And I don't know if him and I have the same definition for what that means, but what I see that as is just like, it's just a movie that's, while well produced and everything, just hitting all the bullet points of a normal traditional action film, and just kind of, it's almost going through the motions, but it's done with style, or with not even with style, but just with with a budget. And it's like, I don't know. There's too many characters.
Yeah,
I don't care about any of them.
I agree with that. I saw so many people in that movie.
And the actors are great. There's a great cast, but I just I could care less about any of these people. And Jacob Tremblay plays like this
I feel bad for that kid
who's too smart.
He started out so good with The Room, and now he's just doing junk.
I mean, he's good in the movie, but I just he's like the kid who just he knows too much. Like, he's like too smart, and he knows it. Like, he's just obnoxious and unlikable. And Boyd Holbrook, who's like the bad guy from Logan. He's like, I feel like he's like the same species as Charlie Hunnam and Garrett Hedlund. Like, they're like all the same person.
They look like that, yeah.
but they have like, I like probably Charlie Hunnam's probably my favorite of those three.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think he has the most range. But I think like these guys are just like, they're so like they're like. Have you heard the phrase Chad? Like a Chad. Like, they're just, that's what, like, they're
cookie cutters of themselves.
And I wouldn't say that so much in like the negative connotation that a Chad has, but like I don't know, they're like kind of generic, good looking white dudes. And it's just like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. So he's just not a great protagonist. Even though he's trying, but it just, I don't know. There's too many people. Olivia Munn's annoying in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's in that too.
And they're all like, he run the way that you have all these characters interact is he goes to jail, like military jail, and he's being transported somewhere, and things go wrong, and they all escape. But it's like, he's in military jail, but somehow every single one of these people are all like mentally insane, and you're like, in military jail doesn't mean that they're all like mentally handicapped in some way. This was just kind of I don't know, they're all crazy people, and you're like, and they all have a gimmick. One person tells Keegan
Michael Key.
Yeah. I always forget how to say his whole name, but he just tells jokes, like that's his thing.
That's why
and he's funny in it, but it's just like every character has like a quirk like that, and you're just like, I just don't care about anything. And like, I don't know, there's some memorable moments in it, but overall it's just it's unfunny and unentertaining, and it's all set at night, and it's all dark.
Yeah, I heard about that.
The only good thing I would say would be that it's not set in the forest. Like, it's all, at least it's like in neighborhoods and stuff, but it's still all set at night, and it's kind of ugly. And from coming off of a film, this is directed by the nice guys. What's his name? The Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Shane Black,
and who I love as a filmmaker. The Nice Guys is an amazing film with such great style and humor, and it's witty and fun and entertaining.
Kiss Bang
and exciting.
Bang is another one of my favorite movies with him. Yeah,
and this just has no life. I don't know. Then there's dialogue like.
I know
Olivia Munn's a scientist, and there's a line where she says something along the lines of like, they're arguing about galaxy versus a universe and which one is bigger. She's like, I mean, the galaxy is like 250 million stars. Why would you pick universe? I mean, really? Come on. And you're like, ugh. or like Jacob Tremblay says something along the lines of like, they're like, somebody's trying to convince him to do something like a bad guy, and he's like, reverse psychology. I can do it too. Don't go fuck yourself. And you're like, ugh. There's so, I mean, it's so ugly and it's really bad. I don't think this should have been made. And
well, this is my summation of it. And I mean, I know, I'm from a different era. I'm 47. I know Jeremy is not even 30 yet, but so when movies came out back when I was a kid, movies lasted in theaters. If it was a hit, it was in the theater for like a year. But I always, with me and Ron, a joke, like when we see a trailer, we'll say, oh, we'll watch that on Hulu next week. And Predator is that movie that came out in September of 2018. It was on HBO in March of 2019.
If this had been a Netflix release, I would have gone, okay. Like, but because it was released in theaters and it's a big budget, big title franchise film, you're like, I mean, I get it. It's like the 12th film in this shitty franchise. I don't think any of these Predator movies are any good, really. The first one's fun, but the rest, I mean, Predator 2 is one of the worst films I've ever seen. That movie sucks. And so they haven't really ever gotten, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised is my point.
Yeah, agreed.
But whatever. Fuck it. It's a terrible film. We have too many movies on this list.
You were never really here. Well, you can fast forward a lot of these things.
Well, the other one I needed to add in, those Burning. I saw Burning again.
That's right. It's on...
Oh, did you watch it?
No, it's on... let's talk about it when I watch it. It's on Amazon.
I really want to talk about it. I think it's a freaking masterpiece. By the way.
Okay. So then
we'll it rewards a second viewing. But yeah, I've already reviewed it, so I can wait. I can wait to talk about it again.
Yeah. So you were
Let
never
me
really
add that too.
Yeah, add it for the next show.
Let me do that real quick.
You were never really here the Joaquin Phoenix movie?
Yes, which I think we may have already reviewed.
No, I think you talked about it maybe in the beginning of the year you mentioned it, but I don't know if you really reviewed it.
I mean, I've seen it twice now. Yeah. It's so damn impressive. Joaquin Phoenix is a goddamn master. This dude's just amazing. I mean, his physicality and his performances is just, he's almost unrecognizable, but then he just has such a distinct, I don't know, like if you look at a film like The Master and then you watch something like this and then you go watch the Joker trailer and you go, gee, like that dude looks like a different person
every time,
even physically, and not just like the amount of weight, like he's heavier in this. I mean, he's like a tank. But it's that's part of it, but it's even just like the way he moves on screen is just, this guy is unbelievable. I mean, I thought he should have won for The Master over Daniel Day-Lewis. And I say that every time I talk about The Master, but I just think he's brilliant in that. He's great in this. And this is directed by Lynn Ramsey, who did We Need to Talk About Kevin. This, I think, is based on a book by the same name. I don't know if she wrote it, though. It's also written by Jonathan Ames, who did Bored to Death, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know if it's based on a book, or I'm not sure about the source material, but she's the one. Lynn Ramsey wrote We Need to Talk About Kevin, and then I think she also adapted it to screen. That's also an interesting film in the same way that, like,
I like that movie.
She just has a really interesting style, and this is like almost shot all in close-ups, which is kind of interesting, and like a lot of the violence happens off screen, which makes it more visceral in a way that it's hard to describe. And it's just, this movie's fucking brutal. Like and a lot of people have described, this has been said before, but it's like Drive meets Taxi Driver in like both the depravity of Taxi Driver, but the like explosions of violence that Drive has, where this character is just building up. Like you can tell he's frustrated. He's had past physical and emotional trauma because of his like father, and so he's dealing with all that. He's a hitman, and he gets assigned to go and rescue the governor's daughter. I think it's the governor. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the details of it, but governor's daughter, though, from basically a child prostitution ring. Similar to Taxi Driver in that same kind of concept. And things get really sketchy very quickly, and it erupts into just explosive violence. And it's just really, I mean, it just, from a technical standpoint, obviously, like I described, the way it's shot and the way that it's kind of like if you know, in movies where they'll like dolly into a doorway and you're like waiting to peek around the corner to see what's on the other side. Like this movie's shot in a way that like everything that happens is just out of reach, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And I don't know, even like there's just the construction of scenes. Like there's a scene where he walks into, I think it's his mother's home, and this is after everything goes wrong, basically. And you watch him come in the back door, which is so he comes in. He's a hitman, so you know he's like on top of things. Like he's not just going to walk into the front door and be like, "Hey, I'm here." But you can tell that he thinks something's off very quickly, and he moves through the room, and then the camera kind of makes its way to a pot of coffee that's been left on, and it's like. In a traditional scene construction, you would see the pot of coffee, then we cut to his reaction where we notice that something's off, and that's what builds the tension. But it's almost done in reverse, which is it's just a strange way to like, and that's just one minor example. The movie, I don't know, there's a scene where he like knocks on a door and somebody's talking as he's approaching the door, and then it hard cuts to, it jumps forward to the scene he's having with the person whose door he just knocked on, and you're like, it's a J cut, I think is what you refer to it as in editing, but it just is, it makes you feel constantly like you don't know where you are or why you're here. Like it almost feels like there's not a beginning and an end to each scene. And that's very strange. It's just it's a really interesting experience, this movie. And it feels like you're living in a really violent world that could explode at any moment. And there's a tension created because of that. But there's also, his character has, while he's this big brute that's, you know, terrifying and explosive, he's also he has a tender side to him. Like he takes care of his elderly mother, and they have a really kind of tender relationship that's very relatable and very kind of sad in a way that I really enjoy. And then even like with a guy that he kills a guy at some point, and there's a moment where he realizes like this guy is just a pawn in this whole thing. And he's like, he almost feels sympathy for the person who he just basically murdered. And there's a moment of kind of like, there's a shared experience between the two of them that happens. It's very unique. And I don't know, this it's just really interesting. I think it's on Amazon at the moment. And it should be seen by everyone that calls themselves fans of cinema. Because it's really goddamn good. So anyway, that's You're Never Really Here. I'm trying to move along because we've got a lot of movies to talk about still. It comes at night, though. I'm really interested in talking about with you. So as some of you who've listened to the podcast before, I think I put this on my top 10 list in 2017.
17 or 16, I think.
And it stars Joel Edgerton, the guy from Girls. I forgot his name. He hasn't been in much else. But and a few other supporting characters. But it's like 5 people. Joel Edgerton's family. It opens with them kind of mercy killing their grandfather. And I guess it starts off the bat with just this really bleak kind of post-apocalyptic setting. Something has happened to the world, but we don't necessarily ever know what that is. Some kind of disease.
A disease,
and it's killing people. And so a lot of them wear masks when they kill the grandfather, when they bury the grandfather, and they burn him. Like, again, there's the rules are not necessarily the rules of the world, but you don't quite know what the you said viral infection. I think that's pretty obvious in the movie, but like we just don't really know what's happening around us. This is very isolated and very, and I forget what starts the plot. I know that they run into another family.
You get Joel Edgerton's, he's very, it's stupid for me to say he takes it serious, but this is like,
this is a brooding.
He's like, got to follow the rules, got to do this. And the son is more of a very, what's the word? He's like,
he's still innocent.
He's innocent, and he's also emotional, and he doesn't kind of grasp the situation.
Like 17?
He's 17, he is. Okay. And then someone breaks into their house at night, and that's where it begins, where they take him, they tie him up, and then they realize a day later, or I think it's 48 hours later.
So the other family is the one that breaks in.
Well, it was just the guy, the Spanish looking dude. The father breaks in. They interrogate him, and then he's like, he doesn't believe him. He thinks that he's part of some type of group. And then he says, just come have my family. And then they go. Oh,
that's right. Because they leave. They run into this family.
The father says, elsewhere. If I'm not back in 72 hours, then, lock up or whatever.
Yeah.
And they end up running into some type of dudes, whatever, some kind of roving bad guys. But after that, you cut to him coming back with the Riley Keough and the boy. And Riley Keough, who I always forget that's Elvis Presley's great granddaughter. But anyway,
Interesting.
Yeah. So because she's very pretty. She's also in another movie that's coming out that's kind of atmospheric, and I keep forgetting the name, but I want to see it. A24 movie. But
Midsummer.
No. But, that would be good. I would love that. Anyway, so they come into the home, and
Well, there's a weird kind of sexual interest that the son
so
has.
The son has for the wife, Riley Keough. But it's the son's kind of fantasy type thing. It's not like being shared by her.
Sure.
But we get to see his dreams and fantasy. She's comes to him to make love to him, stuff like that. But it's all in a dream, and she's infected. And then everything seems like fine. Like outside of that little weird dreams the son's having, they're actually bonding as a family. And then one night, after one of the son's nightmares, he wakes up and the dog who got away earlier and get the father, Joel Edgerton, doesn't want to go after him, but the other father is like, oh, why not? He shows up and he's dying and he's bleeding and he's
been mutilated.
He's been mutilated
by something.
Exactly. And then that's it. We don't, thus begins what I call more, talk about Twilight Zone. It was more like that. It starts becoming like a Twilight Zone episode.
I guess we should definitely talk about the way that this movie was sold and marketed. It
was like a horror film.
It was marketed like a horror film. It's definitely not.
You told me it was a slow burn.
Yes.
And I remember my daughter didn't want to see it. I bought this movie for her almost 2 years ago. Finally, she watched it with her friend on a horror night. And they were like on their phones. They were so bored.
Yeah, I could see that.
Until the paranoia sets in, and then they're like riveted, and then the ending happens, and that's it. So she was kind of let down by that. But I followed it up with Drag Me to Hell. I know you took it off the list, but Drag Me to Hell was a little better for them.
I'm actually going to watch that soon too, which is why I've seen it before. I own it.
Yeah, we won't have to talk about it. But I liked it. And I'm going to say because me and you, we love film. I thought it was really good. It was tense. The way it builds. Tension does build when the paranoid thing starts happening. You start saying, oh, who's this and who's that? Who did it? Who didn't do it? And I like that. I like when they go. I don't know if we're giving spoilers for movie.
Let's talk about spoilers first because I want to ask you a question about particularly about the ending. So if you haven't seen it come tonight, we're going to talk about spoilers for
alert.
10 minutes or so, maybe longer. I don't know because I think I'm really interested because this movie is pretty kind of it doesn't really give you exactly what. I mean, it tells you what happens, but you don't necessarily know why it happens or what caused it, which is kind of interesting.
You're talking about the viral infection
or
what happened at the end of the film?
So now we're talking about, at the end of the film, they all die. They all get sick.
Well,
it ends with Joel Edgerton and his wife at the table, right?
And we know that they may most likely get sick because they were with the son who got sick.
They have boils on their hands.
I thought I saw it on him, but
they
I
were
didn't see it on her.
They were done. And they knew it, and they weren't wearing their masks.
Yeah.
And I think that was at least my understanding of it. I haven't seen it in over a year, probably.
Yeah. But so then, yes, they were sick because you're right, because I did see something on his face. But so I want to get to this.
And when the son wakes up, she isn't wearing her mask. The mom isn't wearing her mask,
agreed.
and she like kind of allows him to die peacefully.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. So I think I know where you're going to go because that's what I loved about the ending, the ambivalence that you never, ever, ever see that fucking kid. Never see his face, his arms, whatever you do see is covered.
You're talking about the coughing. The
baby, because we never know if he was sick, if he did cause all this mess, and that's why I love what happens because then that's where it'd be like
there's this phenomenal sequence where it's horrifying the sequence where they kick him out of the house and then they end up fucking murdering them.
They
murder
them.
That scream that when they shoot the kid, oh my god, like that shit's just. Yeah. Horrifying. I mean, in a way that like I remember seeing that in theaters. I'm getting chills now talking about it. Like it's unbelievable, like how just brutal like some of the sequences are. But then there's this really interesting question that I have, which is, were they sick from the very beginning? And so there's this dream, right? And so there's there's a sequence of dream, and I haven't seen this in a long time, so forgive me if I get some of the details incorrect. You can fill in for me, but. He has all these dreams which we think are dreams, but I would be surprised if they weren't actual things that happened.
Okay, and that's what I was telling Rhonda.
And it starts with, which we don't see till the end, but it starts with him opening the red door and seeing his grandfather, who opens up his mouth and bleeds. And that's technically before all the events of the film, if you think about it, right?
Yes, it is.
I think these dreams are out of sequence, but I do think that's what starts the actual plot, is that he gets sick because he sees his grandfather and he goes into that room, which is where they kept the grandfather before he died, which is at the end of the hall. At least is what, like I said, I haven't seen this in a long time.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So I think the concept of the movie is what will we go through as people which is a trope that's been done before, but in a post-apocalyptic world for survival, what would you do to another family or to another, But the ironic part about it is I think they were all sick from the beginning, and so none of that mattered. And I think
that would make sense. And since you,
I think the symptoms of the disease, I think, are the dreams. I think are the
interesting,
or the at least these gaps in time that seem to occur with the main character. Like I think like you don't know you're sick and you don't start showing symptoms, but your symptoms are these sleepwalking,
like a fever dream type thing, which would make sense. And I just want to throw it in real quick.
And I don't know if I'm right on that, but it's very interesting.
No, you're right. And I'm actually saying, oh shit, he's right. Except the only thing that would explain Riley Keough, the sex dream, because she's sick and she throws up in his mouth and whatnot. Sure. But again, like I said, I love the fact that they left that elusive. Like you don't know if the kid was sick. That might have been the son all along from the beginning. But what you said, what people will go through, and you said it's a trope that's been done before. And I'm saying the monsters are do on Maple Street, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone episode. I think that's what popped in my mind. And I'm like, the aliens sit back and say, oh, man's greatest enemy is himself. Yeah. And I'm like, it's right, because you're right. I mean, that's what I loved about it. It wasn't a horror film by a long shot. It was more of an allegorical,
claustrophobic thriller,
sci-fi type thriller. But
Well, what do we think happened to the dog? That's the other thing.
Now here, let me tell you something. I don't know if you want to fight me on this, but when the dog runs off, both me and Gloriana saw it. There is something on the top right frame that moves. And there might be something out there. We don't know if it's a real monster that got the dog, because what would have happened to the dog? That doesn't explain what happened to the dog.
Sure.
Unless the son...
I mean, but here, it could have just been an animal or a car, though.
We don't know. It could have been. We don't know. But again, because like I said, my daughter hated the movie. She didn't like it because it was such a slow burn, and she thought it was a horror film. But that part... She got excited because we both saw something. And I was like, you saw that? And she goes, yeah, what was that? And her friend and Ron were like, I didn't see nothing. But it was like, I'm glad that was there. Whatever it was, if it was a camera trick, a lighting trick, if it was just a little movement just to make you think something was there. I do think that or say it was an animal, another animal, whatever. I think that I like that scene because it does give you something might be out there.
Something actually might be out there.
But like you said.
But it may not, which is, I think, part of what the movie's trying to do also is that even the marketing for this film, the title itself, It Comes at Night, is this concept that like you hear that title and you go, this is a horror film. And it's like, but I think it could also be, and this has probably been said before, it's not something, I'm not usually somebody who has theories on things, because I don't care to do enough research to fully support them. But at the same time, I do think like it could also mean that like we are a worst enemy, just like you said, and that like paranoia and fear and like the just kind of what we're willing to do because of those things is the tragic downfall of all these characters. Yeah. And ultimately, even though I think they were all doomed from the beginning, which I think is my kind of bleak understanding.
Which is true. I mean,
the events of the film.
Even if you want to take away any supernatural or fantastical elements, that this is just a modern telling of what, man is his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, because like I said, the fact that they don't show the boy, and I think that's great because it goes to show that he may be sick, he may not be sick, but the point was that these people, murdered his family, And,
actually, when you watch Burning, bookmark this thought, which is that Burning, I feel the same way about, where the movie, you can't really tell if the movie's trying to manipulate you into feeling one way or the other, but never really giving you the answer, or if it's that the movie, that's a movie that Burning and this film both. Like they never quite give you an answer, but the movie I still feel like leads you in a direction and then subverts those expectations. Like it's almost like it's master manipulating you. Burning, I think, is a much better film in terms of this is definitely really fucking good, but I think Burning is like masterful in that way, and it's like the second time through I just was enthralled by it, but it just I feel like it's hard to know whether or not the movie is just making you want to think that there's something out in the woods.
Yeah. And I'll think that because I like that.
And it's very interesting either way. And I think that's what good film does.
Yeah, amen. Any movie that makes you think about it did its job because I like that. Yeah.
Unlike Wish Upon.
Segue. Nice segue, Jeremy.
Which is, I did not know. We were 3/4 way through this movie, and I said, when did this come out? And he was like, 2017. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
It came in
This came out 2 years ago? Like, this movie sucks.
It sucks.
I only have a few notes because most of it's been said before, but
it's like this is a movie for Glow. This is a movie for a teenage girl. You know what I'm saying?
It's such a PG-13. I don't even think it is PG-13. I think it is R. But
it's a hard
horrible.
R, but it's ridiculousness.
Ryan Philippe plays a
dad.
Dad that even he digs through trash.
It's ridiculous.
It's just something he loves doing is trash humping or trash digging, and his daughter hates it. And there's tension because of that. But there's also I don't know. This is one of those movies that it's unnecessarily stylish at times, which becomes distracting. Yes. The camera work is so frustrating, and just it's an ugly film, both in the way it's lit, but also just in the director's, I guess, trying things, but they're just all the choices are wrong. Everything is. This is just a completely failed attempt at, and just. It doesn't understand how teens talk to one another, or I don't know. And then you have So anyway, the plot of it is that she finds this fucking box that was left in the garbage can by her mother who killed herself 20 years ago, and it's still in the fucking garbage can. Which is so stupid.
20 years.
And 5 minutes in, where we're not even 5 minutes in, I think it's in the opening sequence before the mom kills herself. We have this the girl the main character when she was younger pulls up on a bike, and there's a boom shot. There's a boom pole in the first 3 minutes, and it's not even a scene with dialogue. Which is why are you even recording audio for this scene? I don't understand. And why is it? And then why is it in the shot? The shot. It just is we're not even it's just we're not even 3 minutes in, and this shit's already oh man. And then just all the kills suck. It's got what's her name from Twin Peaks in it though. She gets Sherilyn Finn, who gets her hair eaten by a garbage disposal, which is just completely just ridiculous. But the biggest problem with the film is the rules don't make any sense.
Yes, agreed.
She finds this box and she makes some wishes, and then the wishes usually in turn have some kind of horrifying consequence. But it never really explains how that consequence is necessarily. It's one thing if she says, "I wish that my dad were cooler," which is one of the worst moments in the whole film, or the best if you're looking at it from a comedy perspective, where she goes downstairs and her dad is now cooler because he plays saxophone and listens to jazz and has musician friends. Just some of that shit's terrible. But then there's it doesn't explain Sherilyn Finn's character is the neighbor next door, and she gets killed, but it's not related at all in any way to the wish that she makes. It's one thing if she makes a wish about but
remember every time she makes a wish, somebody has to die.
Yeah, but it doesn't we don't know who. It's one thing if the consequences are related to the wish.
I agree with you. Yeah.
But it's more of a Final Destination kind of thing where it's
man, you stole it. I was going to say that.
So terrible.
This is my daughter's Final Destination. Mine when I was younger, I love Final Destination. Now
those movies are awful,
awfully good.
Oh man.
I love that movie. I love the first one, the second one, the third one's kind of gay. But other than that, but anyway, that's the point. It's just cheese for cheese sake. Then the ending is right out of Final Destination. She's everything's going to be so good. Boom!
And then she gets hit by a car. in a sequence that's one of the most poorly executed things I've seen in a long time. It's just so poorly CG'd. It's not even because I'm assuming they pulled her on something. You've got to in order to get the actor to have that kind of a reaction. But then just the I don't know, the way that they remove the cables are just something is so off about that shot. It's just awful and hilarious. Really bad movie, man. I can't believe this only came out 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
It's I feel like just as a society we're past
See, you should have put mid-90s before it came at night because we got... So, you already did it, and I'm glad I saw it after you because...
We're talking about mid-90s now.
Mid-90s, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off. It's just that I just
We're
realized...
done with Wish Upon. It's terrible.
It's just that he has all these horror films. I'm like, wait, why is mid-90s in the middle of that?
I didn't really think through this list a whole lot. We have 19 movies on this goddamn list.
But I'll go over it because he's already reviewed it last year. And all my questions for him... Jonah Hill's debut, and I liked it, but yes... Is it like Kids? It's kids, baby kids, or Kids Light. I liked it. It wasn't that good. And I know you said that the film was really good, except for the thing with the car crash, which I guess it does take you out of the film. But,
it was just a little contrived. I think.
Yeah, and then that's how the movie ends, which I kind of liked. Whatever, And then everybody's accepting his friends. And
I think like anytime you have, and even a great film like Whiplash has this problem where it's like anytime you have like a character being self-destructive and it results in a car crash, it's like something we just need to stop doing as a society. Like cinema does not need any more of that. Like you're self-destructive and we're going to show it to you by a physical act of vehicle destruction. I don't know. It's just. But anyway,
it was okay. I liked it for his directorial debut. It was good.
The kids are really good in it.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
and it has kind of a gooey little warm heart to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the family drama stuff is good.
I think it's because Kids is more like a horror movie where all these kids are just like wanton, destructive, and bad, and no redeeming anything about them. And then the only two characters, Chloe Sevigny and Rosario Dawson, they end up. Being swallowed up in the film. But mid-90s, it had a little story. It was nice, it was sweet, and that was it. And then it ended, and then I'm like, all right, it was good.
But it's not like too nice or too sweet.
No.
I feel like it has a good balance of those things.
Yeah. No, the kids are bad mouth, and they smoke weed, and they try to make love and the whole night. It's like kids, but in Kids, they really do it. But yeah, I liked it. It was for a directorial debut. I was impressed. I was like, oh, this is Jonah Hill. I kept saying this is more like some kind of Harmony Korine. But
it's good.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was a nice little. I was surprised, even though reviews were pretty good about it. I was still surprised by it. The next one on our list is the one and only critically acclaimed 12th installment of the Friday the 13th franchise, Jason X.
Jason X.
And this isn't so much a review. It's more me reading my list of it's my list that's titled "Things That Jason X Has Going for It." There's like 20 things on this list. And so it's not really a review. This is my favorite Friday the 13th film, by the way. It's my new favorite.
Well, Part 3 is my favorite, and then Jason X is my favorite.
This is a complete fucking crazy movie.
It is.
And it's so much fun, and in so many ways. So anyway, this is what Jason X has going for it. Jason is in space.
That's it. That's the end of your list.
I mean, so that's the start of the list. Right, so Jason being in space is a huge plus for this movie. But he's also in the future which is an extra plus. The Jason gets frozen in a cryo chamber through stupid circumstances. Why was he there in space in the first? I don't know. The plot for this movie is so fucking ridiculous.
Taking samples of the water, and he happened to be in the water dead, and that's why.
This is like because I know there's another one called Jason Goes to Hell, which I don't think I've seen yet.
Before that one,
but this is exactly what I want from slasher films. Like I want, like even with like movies like John Wick, I want John Wick to go to space, or like I feel like this. But this is because you have a lot of those types of films where like it's a slasher but set in an odd location. But this one nails all of the details of that. Like it's just it's taking that campy premise and just going batshit crazy bananas with it. And it's like, I don't know, David Cronenberg is in this. He almost looks like Jeremy Irons too, right? Which is a huge plus.
Yes. Dead ringers.
There's an interesting kind of bait and switch kill in the opening where he's like covered up by a blanket.
Yes.
And then the person like rips the blanket off and he's not there, and then he turns around. I was like, that's fun. So that's a plus. Then Frozen Jason cuts a dude's arm off by falling forward, which is a huge plus. I'm a huge fan of that. There's he stabs a lady through the cryo chamber doors, which is a good kill because I didn't expect that to happen. I was like, oh, cool. And then he like crushes the girl's head freezes or something. He crushes somebody's head. I don't know if that's on my list.
Should be.
Oh, sticks a girl's head in dry ice,
yeah.
then smashes it in, which was really great. Great kill. The CG is terrible. That's a huge plus for me. The way that like actors, the conversations that people have don't fit the future at all.
Yes,
like
exactly.
They're like, it's like if it's like the script is from the early 2000s, but like these characters are just set in the future, and it's just like the dialogue of people that talk, like the way people talked in the 2000s, which is just so odd. Huge plus. There's the like simulator thing later on, which is really great. There's when they like lay out all these sleeping bags for Jason to pick up and like slam. It was great. There's a swinging spiky ball.
Yes, I like that.
Great thing. There's a dual space pistols. One of the lead characters has dual space pistols.
That, yeah.
There's front flips in this movie. There's this says has a sense of humor is my line, and the quote is, "It's going to take more than one poke in the ribs to take down this old dog," and then Jason stabs him again and he dies. It's like, yes, this is great. I love that Jason's like body parts start becoming like ripped off and shot off, and I love that he regenerates,
yeah.
And then I love modified metal Jason. I'm a huge like that was just such a great moment when they reveal his terrible shitty outfit that he has. He punches a girl's head off.
Yeah,
great.
Well, he's done that before. But
yeah, but still, just a great. And then Jason burns up in the atmosphere, which is just a great way to end it. I thought this movie was a masterpiece.
It's a great movie
in schlock horror, and my favorite of the franchise, including it's better than the original.
Well, of course. Yeah.
I'm such a fan. Next thing on our list is Splice, which I've owned for like 6 years and I have never watched.
You bought Splice?
A long time ago.
All right, go on. I'm
So the biggest strength of this film, and also its biggest weakness, is that it has an alien rape scene in it.
Really?
And I knew that going in.
Yeah.
Which is why I probably bought the film. Because it didn't look very good, and it isn't good.
Yeah, like extra.
But then I heard there's an alien rape scene in it, and I was like, okay, I need to see this. The problem is you spend about 2/3 of the movie waiting for the alien rape scene. More than that, actually. It's like the last 10 minutes of the movie. And so, like, because I knew that was a thing, I was waiting for it for so fucking long. Like, this, like in a movie like Alien, which is kind of your traditional space slasher, or even it doesn't have to be in space, any kind of science fiction film, like sci-fi horror film. Like usually about halfway through is when the shit hits the fan, and then it becomes a horror film for usually like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
This is almost 2 hours it's almost like an hour and a half of science fiction. And then just like a 15 minutes of like kind of horror.
Yeah.
I feel like you're just waiting. It just, the structure of it doesn't work. There's some interesting science stuff in it, but it's so early 2000s in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Like just the dialogue, like the characters are really pretentious. Like it's got what's his name, Adrian Brody, I'm going blank on who the girl is from it, but they're like early 2000s scientists. They're like really world-renowned scientists, and they say things like, "I think that the reason this isn't working is because we're listening to this corporate fascist Uber music. I think we need to listen to some good music." And he puts jazz on, and you're like, "Ugh!" Like I love jazz, but like that's just it. I don't know. These characters are just really unlikable and pretentious, and just they're scientists, and so they're debating whether or not they should be experimenting on like human DNA, and so there's like I feel like the movie the two characters kind of decide when they want to be worried about the moral ramifications of what's happening. Like there's I don't know, like it's at times the Adrian Brody's character is like really against what they're doing, and then there's times where they just don't, like, the movie doesn't really, it's trying to set up some kind of moral dilemma, and it doesn't know how to, like, because it feels like there's like certain story beats that they had to hit, and they don't know what to do in between those beats with like the way that characters are reacting to everything. So it's like Adrian Brody's character like flip flops between like his mindset on what they're doing all the time. And it's just, I don't know, it's really bad. And it lacks subtlety. Like the characters are just kind of explaining the way they feel oftentimes. There's some fun body horror in it though. And,
the body horror.
And there's some fun some of the science fiction stuff is interesting. But I don't know. It's like it just doesn't work, and it holds its cards too long, in my opinion. And like I said, there's a really shocking, fun scene, but you have to wait so long for that to happen, and it just because it was pitched as kind of a sci-fi horror film, it just never gets there. Yeah. And so I don't know. It just.
I was just looking at IMDb to see where this movie falls, and I'm like. Didn't he win the pianist? Yeah, he won an Academy Award in 2002, and then he's doing schlock like this. Don't make sense.
But then there's like, I don't know, there's tension between the two characters, and then there's a scene where they like have sex in order to progress the plot. Like it's like, and it's just like, come on, like I don't know. The movie just, I feel like like I said, the best way to describe it is it has. It's not even a story, really. It's just like things that they want to happen in the movie. And then there's just scenes that fill the gaps and they don't lead into one another in any way. Like the motivation doesn't make any sense. And that's a big problem. Yeah. It's just, and it's also like ugly in the way that early 2000s movies were. Like it's just kind of like that green tint that everybody, like after the Saw movies came out, everybody was like, we're going to make it all look like it was shot on video, shaky cam style. And I don't know. It's just really bad. I don't know. I don't care to talk about it anymore because it's terrible. Don't go see Splice or watch it if you were considering doing so. Let's talk about TV.
Oh yes, we're finally up to. Well, I guess
let me hit on Barry real quick, and then we can do spoilers for Game of Thrones because you haven't seen Barry, have you?
No, I want to, but I haven't. No, so you can talk about Barry.
So Barry's the latest HBO kind of comedy action series. Like it's not really action, but it's definitely more of a comedy about a hitman that decides, played by what's his fucking name? He was on SNL. What's his name? Bill Hader. He's phenomenal in this.
I was gonna say.
I should know his name. I just drew a blank.
I was gonna say, who's he talking about?
You know what I'm talking about.
Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler's also great in this, though. The whole cast is really good. But anyway, he's a hitman from the Midwest that like goes to do a hit in Los Angeles and stumbles upon an acting class and then decides that he wants to be an actor instead of murdering people, which is kind of a silly, fun premise. And the show has a lot of fun with that in kind of the same way that like I compare this a lot to Dexter, like interesting, because he's a murderer, like he's an assassin, and. He's trying to balance regular life and trying to, move on. And I mean, Dexter always kind of wants to be a murderer. Yeah, he never really tries to shy away from it. So, but still like the tension between like police and regular everyday life, like in the way that those worlds overlap is there's a similar tension that Dexter also had. Yeah. And that all that stuff works really well, but it's also just so goddamn funny. The show's really fresh. And, like I said, Bill Hader is phenomenal as Barry in the show. And just not only is he good at just handling the humor and he's also show running this, he's writing and he's a creator on it. But he also has a surprising amount of like emotional depth to this character, especially towards like the end of season 2, because we're 2 seasons into this, and I think the show just gets better. I mean, the first season was solid, and I watched that when it came out, and then for some reason I didn't catch on with season 2, and then so I just watched it once Game of Thrones ended. I needed something to watch, and it's really fucking good. And it becomes towards the middle of season 2, it becomes almost ridiculous. Like it kind of leans into there's a sequence. there's a bottle episode. I think it's like episode 5 of season 2, which is my favorite episode of the whole series, where he goes to assassinate somebody and it all goes horribly wrong, and then it becomes like almost like not so much a Twilight Zone episode, but it's like it's not quite. It's like otherworldly in a way that's really oddly funny and strange, and just it's so goddamn funny. This episode, it's just amazing, and that was like the point where I was like, this show is fucking awesome. Yeah, and I think it really kind of settles into its own, and just tonally, and And then the plot has really, in season 2, the plot and the tension between kind of those two worlds I was talking about kind of really comes to a head. And Henry Winkler's character has a surprising amount of depth, and he's also very funny in the show. And it's just it's really solid from HBO. And I was really impressed.
Yeah,
I've always loved their shows. I mean, they make great stuff. But
yeah, definitely. And it's a show I've been wanting to see for a while, but. Now that we got HBO again, like I guess now that Game of Thrones is over, I can sit down and watch the other shows. So.
It's totally worth it.
Big Little Lies is coming back too, so I love that show.
Which I've seen the first 5 episodes of season 1, and I just never finished. I was watching it week to week at the time, and I just fell off. But yeah, that show's amazing. Big Little Lies is really great. So, I mean, yeah, this is more of a recommendation than a review. Barry's great. I think it's hard to review television without going into plot details, especially with comedies. But it's very funny. It's charming and just it's all the things. It's really great. Let's get to Game of Thrones. So we haven't talked about Game of Thrones since
episode 3.
We recap episode 2.
Oh, okay, we did.
But it was the night. Damn. It was the night of episode 3. We did it. We recorded right before the show started, and we finished right when. Because I left to go watch that night. So we haven't talked about it since then. And since then the show has ended. So this is spoiler alert for Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, everybody spoiled it
for the entire series. If you don't already know what happens. If you like Game of Thrones, you've already seen it. But if you don't, then who fucking cares? You haven't watched Game of Thrones. Come on now. It's not my problem. We're not responsible for you people.
Serious, bro.
It's like, what does that mean that's going around?
Especially episode 3, 4, 5, which you should have seen already, and then 6 will be the big spoiler, I guess. Well, let's talk about 3.
I'm trying to think how we should run this, because we have multiple episodes to talk about.
And the only one I really want to talk about is 3.
The last episode. So this is 1 week. We're recording this 1 week after it ended.
Oh yeah, almost a little shy of a day of 1 week out because it came out on Sunday. Today's Friday night. Well, I think we should definitely talk about episode 3 because to me, it's one of the greatest episodes on television ever made. It was amazing, and like I said,
is the battle for
the battle of Winterfell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But I was like, is that right?
King's Landing's the next episode.
No, yeah.
So the Battle of Winterfell, which I'm going to say this, there's been 3 shows that affected me with one thing that happened in it that toward the end that I literally jumped out of my seat and started screaming and wake up where the cops were called. Handmaid's Tale, last year's season ending, I threw a water bottle at the TV and almost broke it. But with this, and I mean, if you want to just jump into the ending of this episode, or you just want to talk about everything before we get there.
Well, there's not much to talk about in that episode up until the end, really. I mean, there's some great moments with the Dothraki when they send the Dothraki, regardless of whether or not you think that was a good strategic move. Yeah, the internet fucking hates the show. We'll get to that in a bit, and you may hate it too. I don't. I think it's great.
No, not at all. No, I never said that.
And I think some of their critiques are fair. But anyway, they send the Dothraki out to is the first line of defense. They all fucking disappear in the darkness, which is really great. That's a great moment.
A great shot.
Just from a cinematography standpoint, even though it's probably a lot of it was CG, it was still that was really great and really threatening. It established we're dealing we're fucked, yes. And then is it Missandre?
Missandre, yeah, or
Melisandre? What the witch, the red witch?
Yeah, Missandre.
But I thought that was Grey Worm's. I always forget what their fucking names are.
Wait.
I meant to look that up before the show, but we had too many things to talk about. I forgot. Melisandre, I think is what it is the witch, and then I think Missandre, I think is Grey Worm's wife.
Melisandre, is the witch, and Missandre is the girl. Yeah, okay. So
is that right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, Missandre,
yes.
We should know these things. I'm sure people are rolling their eyes at us right now.
Natalie Emmanuel, Missandre.
And then Melisandre.
Melisandre is...
So Melisandre goes and ignites the barrier around them, which is a great cinematic moment in the show, where she ignites the barrier around Winterfell. Yeah. And provides light in the darkness as well as, protection from the oncoming slaughter of fucking... Dude, when those... when they... I think it's when the Unsullied line up. I forget because I haven't seen the episode in several weeks now. But when the Unsullied line up to fight them, and then they just all start barreling over everybody, that shit's like a because we've seen zombies, you know, this was like World War Z type zombies where they're just fucking piling on, and that's scary, man. Like that was, I don't know, just the force of that, like in the way, like just that was an impressive sequence.
It was.
And then I think that's the moment where Grey Worm has to decide whether or not to bring them back beyond because I don't know if Melisandre ignites it before all the Unsullied get slaughtered. I don't think she does.
It's after. Remember, that's why they tell
because Grey Worm makes the decision, but I think the Unsullied hold it off long enough for Melisandre to ignite it. I think is the way that.
And then you have that tense
unfolds.
scene where it's
which is a great
and
moment.
The minute
though.
they like jump up on top of her, whoosh, goes up. That was really rocking.
Yeah, I thought, but even like I love the moment with Grey Worm where he has to decide whether or not to hold his ground and allow his men to retreat, or just basically let them get slaughtered. Which is an interesting choice, and I like that a lot. And then after that, though, it's really just John and Dany are flying around on the dragon. Nobody gives a fuck about what they're doing the whole time, and then
I didn't.
And then they all pretty much almost get slaughtered, and then the Night King approaches Bran in the garden.
Yeah, well, you give the episode to Arya no matter what, because like. While all that other stuff is happening, like, you know, where, what's his name? The Hound is like, you know, giving up, and then, you know, they see fucking Arya flying around, jumping out of the way of zombies. And I thought that was cool. But yes, up until the end.
There's some great moments. And I was just talking about, like, because we don't have.
Yeah, no. We'll fast forward. But I mean, the ending alone, where the little wisp of the walker's hair flows back and he turns. And then you see fucking Arya flying in the air, and he still catches her. And let me tell you something.
That's a great moment.
I think that
I held my I caught
10
my
seconds.
breath.
10 seconds of. Let me tell you, because right before that, I was like, "Oh motherfucker, I can't believe I said everybody dies. It doesn't make sense." So what happens? The rest of the show is about Cersei and the fucking White Walkers. No. And when that happened, I literally, when he called her, I was like, I said, Rhonda, fuck, this is ridiculous. And then she drops that fucking knife. And let me tell you something. When she stabs him, I jumped the fuck up and I screamed so fucking loud.
Your head hit the goddamn ceiling.
Oh my, almost. And Rhonda was like, "What the fuck?" And then JC runs out of him and says, "What happened?" He's like screaming, like, "What happened?" He's thinking something. And then and here's the best part. 5 minutes later, because I'm still cursing because I'm like, "Motherfucker, go fuck that mother." And then we see the lights outside. The cop cars came and they called the cops.
Jesus Christ.
But it was amazing. It was like,
that was pretty fucking amazing.
That literally goes down in the history of one of the greatest episodes ever made, and I put that up in my top 10. That was a great ending.
Yeah, it was. And it's a great episode.
Yeah.
And we liked the episodes preceding that as well.
Yes,
so
we were
up until that point,
up until episode 3.
And I think the internet also was up until episode 5 is where they like really turned on it. I think, but I'm trying to think what happens in episode 4. I mean, I know that's kind of the episode where they're setting up kind of the tension between Dany
episode
and Jon.
4. Yeah, exactly. Episode 4 is everyone's cheering on.
Because he tells her that he's the rightful heir before the third episode.
She knows already. But remember, and so it was like they're all cheering him, the King of the North, and she gets kind of jealous.
That's right. Yeah,
that was the
coffee
Starbucks
cup scene, which everybody lost their goddamn minds about. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if earlier in the show that kind of shit's happened before, and we just weren't paying attention to it the way that we were for this, which is like I don't think people understand like how many people are on set of Game of Thrones. Like, I mean, this show employed like 10,000 people probably on set. I mean, like we'll get to the last episode in a second, but the sequence with where Dany, when she eventually, you know, she claims the throne and she's given her speech at the top of the stairs.
Well, that's episode 6.
It's the last episode. Is like there's like literally, because I mean, I know they CG'd in some of the Dothraki and Unsullied, but like there's probably like 1,000 people on camera for that scene. And it's like, so you don't think that there's a chance that one person could set down a goddamn Starbucks cup and that potentially make it into, you know, and I get it. Like, I get that people are like, "Oh, it's an oversight," but it's like, there's like, this show is produced at such a high level. Mistakes have happened before and they happen. Like, it just like, I get it. Like, I can't. It's surprising that it got past editing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they could have taken it out in editing, but they just missed it. And it's like, I get it, but it's like, that's such a fucking minor thing.
Yeah.
And I get that people were already fed up with the season, but at the time. But anyway, when we'll get to, I have a big problem with the way the internet's received this season. And
so let's get to So season 4.
But what episode 4 though? I'm trying to think what else happened in that episode.
It's knighting of Brienne, or did she get knighted before that?
That's before Battle of Winterfell.
So then it's just basically 2. Jaime and Brienne getting together.
Yep. Everybody fucks.
Yeah, everybody fucks.
Yep.
And then you have Danny, her beginning to starting to be like, hey, you know, I'm a little threatened by you and your sister and everybody.
Does she? I think she loses her dragon at the end of that episode, though, right?
Yes, and then at the end is the first attempt at
Yes.
King's Landing, and then Greyjoy.
It ends with Missandei being beheaded, right? That's the ending.
Missandei, yes, and her head falls
Dracarys,
down.
that whole bit
Dracarys,
was,
yes, and then
which I thought was like a phenomenal. I didn't expect for us to get there at that point.
Yeah.
But I thought Tyrion was going to die there. Like I genuinely thought that could have happened there.
Yeah.
I thought Cersei could have ordered his slaughter, and that could have put Dany over the top. But at the same time, I just thought his speech, and I thought we'd spent a lot of time with like him and Varys discussing. We'd spent a lot of time with Tyrion in that episode, and I thought it could have potentially been the episode where they killed him, and they didn't, which I'm glad of. But still, like I thought that scene where he's trying to appeal to Cersei's good side was interesting.
yeah.
And I loved like just the execution of that whole scene and you know whether or not I think that's enough for her to burn all of King's Landing. I do think it sets the foundation and the groundwork.
So episode 4 we're good on. I liked episode 4.
Yeah.
Then we get into episode 5, which
is really where everybody lost
the
their
Mad
shit.
Titan, the crazy Daenerys,
Which you called.
Yeah, and I told you that. I thought that was going to happen. I think I called everything, but
Well, you were wrong about the Night King winning.
yeah, I wanted that to happen. But yeah, you're right.
But you were definitely right about Mad Queen.
Mad Queen, that was going to
Dany
happen, and John, you know, killing her and everything. Yep. And I call that. Well, I called it either or.
Sure.
But I think it was by that time I knew it was going to be John. But episode 5. So episode 5, I mean, I know the internet's going crazy because they're like, oh, we love Daenerys. How are you going to flip the switch?
Well, it opens with her murdering Varys because
she burns Varys.
Betrayed her by sending out, basically telling the world
Tyrion
that.
rats it out, and then she kills Varys. Yeah.
Well, and because Sansa is kind of the instigator in that whole situation. Because Sansa tells Tyrion because she knows. I forget which episode. You know, we're not going to be perfect on which episode, like the whole timeline of events, but. Because John tells Bran, well, Bran already knows, but Sansa and Arya and the garden.
4.
That's episode 4. And then Varys tells everyone. Mm-hmm. We assume. I'm thinking. I mean, because we never actually see him delivering any letters, but we do see him writing the letters, and then we see him burn it, which makes me wonder whether or not he actually sent them out. And I don't know that we ever see.
I think he burned it because he heard someone coming, and he
but we're not sure. Like, did he send out 1,000 of them at that point in time? I don't know. So, but either way, it's enough for Daenerys to burn him and not allow him any last words, and which is kind of a sad, tragic ending for Varys. But at least you know, he's standing his ground in support of what he thinks is morally correct.
I agree. Yeah,
great character. I think one of the greater characters in the whole show. Like Littlefinger and Varys was that whole dynamic for the first 5 seasons or so is some of my favorite parts of television. You know, so I love that character, and I was sad to see him go, but it was bound to happen. So we have all these things. We have. If we're talking about like Daenerys' turn to becoming the Mad Queen, right? Yeah. And there's not a whole lot that happens up until that moment in that episode. I mean, they storm King's Landing, they burn all the fucking ships, they burn all the archery. What the fuck are they called? The things that shoot
the scorpions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they burn all those, and Cersei kind of knows it's over at that point. Which is there's a great moment where I forgot her hand's name. The old man.
The old man. I don't know.
I'm going blank on his name, but when he tells her it's like they've burned everything, like it's over, and she like is still just like, oh, it's a great moment. I think it's just a great piece of acting by what's her fucking name? Cersei.
Cersei. Yeah.
What's her?
Oh, you mean Lena Headley?
Yeah, Lena Headley. We should know all these things. We're terrible.
I do, but you know, I know all of it.
But yeah, no, I think that was a great moment though, and then, but I think so. We have, and I don't think the internet is giving enough credit to, and I understand I think this show would have been better with 2 more episodes. I'm with everybody there.
Agreed. Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think it laid enough a foundation for what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking from the beginning now. You know, I think it's because you.
I think people underestimate.
A lot of people that I know listen to my show or this show, and I don't want them to think that I'm. But I'm saying it's like, you know what, goth girls or young hip girls like, oh, Danny's my favorite. You know, Danny, I relate to Danny.
Doesn't mean she's unkillable.
But did no one understand that her father was a crazy motherfucker and her brother was a crazy motherfucker? What would stop her from being a crazy motherfucker?
And she's burned people before, and she's and for the longest time, and I think it's Tyrion or Varys that describes it as there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who thinks they're right. Or something like that, which is a great line.
Yeah.
And again, it's like all these things are there. Just people. I feel like there's a lot happening in these episodes, and I get that. Like there's a lot happened in this season.
They fell for that love story between Jon and her, and they wanted moon pies and penny whistles. And I was like, we're going to get that. Thrones. Yeah, it's Game of Thrones. You either play or you play to win, as Cersei said in the first episode to Ned Stark. And I mean, I saw it coming because, like I said, what would have been the other thing that she kills Cersei and they live happily ever after.
Yeah,
I told you it was going to be a dark ending. I mean, it was
and even like there's that great line. I think it's Tyrion in the final episode where he says, like, "Does that look like a woman that is finished fighting or something like that?" And it's like that's 100% accurate to that character. Like that character would not know what to do with themselves once they've literally gotten everything that they've been wanting for correct. Because what do you do with your life once you? And so that's interesting. Like, and I think that works. Like, and I think the motivation was there, regardless of how rushed. I agree with the fact that I think we could have done with one more episode to really kind of turn Danny. But at the same time, I think, like I said, and like you said, we're in agreement that it wasn't like it was out of left field. So I was just like.
It's story developing over 10 years. You weren't paying attention. You're an idiot. I mean, I saw that coming.
Well, but people are saying that like they throw, even people that I know love the show and watch every episode are like, they just throw away her arc in one episode. And I'm like, I don't.
It's not. Oh
like, God, I don't think that's what happened.
One episode. It was building up to that because if you even thought that this was a possibility, you were paying attention. Because you knew all the groundwork for her being this, like, you know, mother of everybody as Teresa. I'm like, no, they've laid the groundwork that she could be like, okay,
a tyrant.
She saved all the children of the first people, but she burned all the rich people.
Sure.
I mean, so you can murder all the rich people, but because you didn't burn the kids, then you're a good person. You know what I mean? So she was always the extreme. She
was always on that fence.
Exactly.
Of morally, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, for everyone to say, oh, but I wanted them to live happily. I mean, like, come on, grow up.
And so my biggest problem with the internet, right, is so a lot of people are giving... So people are talking about how the writing of the show has gotten terrible or whatever, which is what a lot of people like. They've destroyed these character arcs. They don't know how to write a show anymore. This is, I mean, people are like,
I know.
Fucking hate this.
I'm paying attention.
And it's like, I don't think you understand. So it's like your expectations of what should happen is a story thing, not a writing thing, first of all.
Yeah.
So people are complaining about, I mean, it's like, if you're talking about like what's happening, that's story. When you're talking about like the individual writing in a scene, that's writing.
That's
so
writing,
when you're talking about scene construction, that's writing. When you're talking about the events of the show, that's story. And it's like, so if your complaint is that a particular character doesn't end up the way that you, so I really like Jamie in the last couple seasons. And I like what they've done with this character. I was disappointed that he didn't kill Cersei.
Agreed.
I'm not saying that I think that the show earns the way that it ends, the way that they ended up going with it. But like, I do wish that he had betrayed Cersei and redeemed his character, and then either died doing so or returned to Brienne to, you know, so like even up until the second to last episode, I thought that was the way they were going to take it, was that even that line where he says everything I've done is for Cersei. Like I thought that, I legitimately was like, okay, so he's killing Cersei at that point. I was like, he's realizing what she's made him and that she's the cause of all of this. But that's not what that whole scene meant. It really meant that like it's always been for her and I love her and I can't help that. Like,
not to digress. It's like, Cersei became to me like I don't know if you were a fan of Lost. Like Ben's never getting killed on Lost drove me fucking insane. And what's worse with that, he actually is the only one who survives the whole island thing. But I mean, with Cersei, that's something like she deserved to be fucking killed. I mean, that's the bottom line. And the fact that I don't want to say they did a bad ending. They died together, and yes, I want him to be with Brienne, but I'm not going to cry about him. I say, the show sucks because of that.
And you can't criticize that.
Yeah.
So George R. R. Martin released a tweet or something saying like I forget the way you described it though, but it was like this isn't a democracy. You don't get to choose how it ends, right? And so it's like if your complaint is that it went in a direction that you didn't like, that's a problem with the story, not the writing. Because I do think, and I really stand by this, I think the show has been so fucking fantastically well written.
Agreed.
From and I'm like, I get this season hasn't had as much, like I love, like my favorite stuff in the whole show is like Varys and Tyrion just duking it out. Like that's my favorite stuff. And there's less of that in this season, so I get that. There's a lot more fighting but people would have complained if it had been all. I mean, people complained about the first 2 fucking episodes where there was too much talking. There wasn't enough. And
they called it Seinfeld. Yeah, I remember that.
You can't fucking please anyone with this stuff. And it's like the writers of the show have to make a decision, and they did with George R. R. Martin's. Like, you know, this was his story. This wasn't the D&D's like version of Game of Thrones, right? It wasn't. Maybe the individual scenes were their creative decisions, but like the story was written by George R. R. Martin. He's credited that way, and he's been involved in this whole process to guide the show in the right direction, right? Yeah. So if your issues with the story, then you're not mad at D&D. You're mad at George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, there's a difference there, and it's like, and then. Like, I still think individual scenes in the show, and I get there's little things like, how did any of the people survive the episode 3? They all should have died. And it's like, but that's how all, like, storming the castle scenes happen. Everybody gets almost killed, and then, you know, they win somehow. That's how it always happens. And you can't kill Brienne to a fucking nameless zombie.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
Like, imagine if like the Hound or one of those, like in any of these like major characters, like even Jorah, like being murdered by no one is just like, I know he got murdered for Dany at least, but you can't have an episode.
That was valiant. I like that.
I think 4 or 5 major characters died in that episode. The guy with the flame sword, forgot his name. You know, Jorah. We had the little girl who gets her head fucking crushed by the giant. That was great. I mean, like, there's some great character moments in that work very well. And so it's like we did lose some characters, but we weren't going to lose Tyrion to a fucking nameless zombie.
I got you.
And you know, we lost Theon. We lost. I don't know. It's like, what do you fucking want? Like,
and
you guys
the people who died had these really fucking epic deaths. I mean, I know. Great. What's his name? Theon. That was a fucking awesome.
That was good death. Yeah.
That was. I dug that, and it redeemed his character 1,000,000%. Like you said, Lady Mormont. That's the little girl. That was fucking awesome. I mean, so granted,
these are characters I don't really give a shit about.
Yeah, I mean, I did want Cersei to get a better death.
Well, but here's the thing, though, is I think that's the part. So, as much as I would have loved to see like Jaime turn on her, I think that would have been my favorite way to end that.
And then he go back with.
I love. There's a horrifying thing that stuck with me since that happened, where she says something along the lines of like, I don't want to die like this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like almost it's an embarrassing, unimportant death.
Yeah, I got you.
And that's the perfect way for Cersei to go.
And I like that. Now that you say that, I could see that where, you know, she probably wanted to fight with the dragon or the dragon to burn her or eat her up, but instead she got caught in a landslide with the building coming down around her.
And no one knows.
And no one gives a fuck. Yeah, I got you.
And there's something way more tragic about that. And she dies in the arms of the person she cared about the most, and part of the reason she did all this in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's really interesting that this show's done this whole time is characters. Like, I saw something today about like it was talking about like with Theon's characters. Like, I used to care about him, or I didn't care about him at all. Then I cared about him. Then I despised him. Then I was disgusted by him. And then now I love him. Right? And it's like, and this show has redeemed characters that you fucking hate, like like Jaime and whatnot. And it's even with Cersei, they've always rode the line. She's been evil, you know, no question. But even with her, they've like. There's something there. Like, there's more to her than just pure evil. Like, she's like her children, and just she's always been such a great actress, but also like her character's been really well written. And that character doesn't necessarily deserve just I like the fact that even in the death that was meaningless, she did it with the one she loved.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, there's something kind of tragic, but also kind of it's a satisfying conclusion to that character, even though it's unsatisfying. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Even though I didn't like it as much as what I envisioned that to be, right? But so it's like I can't bitch about the story because that's not my decision.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing if it's a betrayal of everything, but that's none of these characters are betraying like what's been set up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jaime would be the closest one, though. I think they had set him up to really turn and redeem himself, and I don't know that they went in that direction with it. But it is what it is. You can't, I can't get everything I want.
So then, cutting to the last episode, I'm over to the last characters.
Before we do that, though,
okay.
So people fucking flipped out about episode 5, and a lot of it was mostly just the Daenerys thing.
Because Daenerys,
But then there's these. So I don't think I've seen anything more goddamn impressive than Arya running through the streets with the dragon.
Cool.
Like that whole sequence is just unbelievable. It's one of the most impressive technical achievements in television history. Like some of those sequences, and it's like we're just gonna glaze over that. Like, are you kidding me? Like she's running through the streets, the camera's tracking through, and there's like hundreds of extras being murdered, and it's all brilliantly executed, and just it's so impressive. And it's like we're just discrediting all that hard work and all that. Like, I just don't understand. Like,
because they wanted Dany to be a good person. They wanted her to be Mother Teresa at the end and live happily ever after with Jon as king and queen of the world. And that's fine. It's stupidity. It's little girls who came onto Game of Thrones in season 5 or 6 when that started. And then they wanted that to be the ending. I mean, like we said, the story arcs, you saw coming. Like, I mean, which is why I want to cut to, but the whole thing like with Jon Snow, I mean, I dig that ending. Mm-hmm. I know everyone like Rhonda hated it, and I'm like, at least he lived.
It's a little tragic.
Yeah, it is tragic, but you know what? That's what he always did. He ends up.
He was never going to be the person on the throne.
No, but I mean also like with the whole thing with the going off with the wildlings at the end, because that's what the reason why he got killed the first time is because he wanted the wildlings to be part of that.
He's turned down power every chance that he's gotten to.
And now he can go off and live a life that he wants, and with the wildlings, the forest and blah blah blah. I didn't mind that ending with Jon Snow, and like I didn't like that Bran became king, but other than that, Sansa becoming queen, I call that too. I mean, that was going to happen, and I dig this spin-off potential of Arya saying, "I'm going to go sail the unknown and fight monsters and dragons."
It was a little contrived,
but I want to see that.
Yeah,
I want to see Arya continue to kick people's ass.
Like, we had never. I mean, she's always been an adventurer. Yes, I think it's definitely fitting of her personality. It's just more like it seemed like what are you going to do? Oh, well, maybe I'll go. I'll go do this, and it's like what that? Okay, all right. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. But but anyway, I want to talk a little bit though about how I think people are undervaluing how critical the news of not being the rightful heir was to Dany. So, and what I mean by that is like so people are talking about how they're throwing away this arc or whatever. It's like I don't think people are talking about the fact that like she just found out in episode 5 or I guess 3.
No, 3. Yeah, it was right before
she found out. Yeah, she found out that, or whenever it was.
It was 3.
That her whole meaning in life and her justified, conquest to get the throne is now she doesn't deserve that ever. She never did. Yeah, you know what I mean? All that she's done was really for nothing. Not for nothing necessarily, because she still has an army and she still has all these things. But like, she's not the rightful heir.
Yeah.
And so her motivation for every decision she's made and like her righteousness in that was wrong, incorrect.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, that's fucking important. You know what I mean? And I get that maybe the show didn't have enough time to really establish that importance.
And,
but like, we've been talking about that for seasons. Like, even people are talking about how Jon Snow's lineage doesn't have anything to do with the plot. I'm like, no, it fucking does. That was the key, crucial part of it. Yeah. And the last piece in the whole puzzle, like Jon Snow's lineage is the reason that all this happened. And people are just ignoring that. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it's all there. It's all there, man.
Because they want to complain about stupid shit. That's like people are.
Meanwhile, the show is doing some of, like even the scene that I talked about earlier where Daenerys, great fucking shot where the dragon lands behind her and the wings come out. And
that was fucking amazing.
It's just amazing.
That was an amazing shot.
It's like, even just conceptually, it's like, who thought of that? That's really clever.
Yeah.
And then like the concept of like, we've always thought that all the visions of the throne room were snow, but it's actually ash, which is a really interesting spin on something that like, that's a way that the show has subverted our expectations, done so in a way that's really visually satisfying and it's directly tied into the horrifying, tragic turn of Dany, which is like I just that you can't tell me that that's shit. Like, one of my friends from high school, Hunter Lanier, he's a Rotten Tomatoes critic now. He's a great writer. And his reviews are great. I think he's on Film Threat. So if you can go check him out. He's really well written, and his thoughts are really a lot better than mine in regards to the way he describes things. And he was like, somebody said that this is the worst thing I've ever seen or something like that. And he was like, well, if this is the worst thing that you've ever seen, I need to reevaluate what that means, because this, while I understand that it's not perfect and it's not everything we want it to be necessarily, it's still so well done, and it's still like, you know, executed in a way that's just brilliant and impressive and is satisfying, and like, and the performances have been great. Like, somebody said that this was worse than Dexter, and I don't know about you.
Who said that?
But that's the worst ending I've ever seen in my life for a series.
It's
maybe
up
not.
there.
Maybe
it's not
ever.
the worst, but I hated Dexter's ending. It destroyed this character.
But even the preceding seasons before that show fucking nobody was watching that show by the time it ended. That show sucked.
I agree with that.
And that was a great show for 4 or 5 seasons.
5 seasons, yeah.
And then like Game of Thrones has. I mean, I'm not saying it's never misstepped, but it has been consistent from a quality standpoint the whole way. So if you're going to just discredit all of that for some minor, I mean, I guess major story things that you just didn't agree with, like, fuck off. You know what I mean?
Fuck yourself. Yeah.
And I don't know. Even like the scene where where she comes out in the wings and she gives that whole great speech. That scene alone, if you go and rewatch that scene, just the cinematography and the amount of extras and the amount of coverage in that scene. So like she's talking and you're cutting to like all these like great dolly tracking shots of like all the Unsullied and the Dothraki, like, and then the Dothraki are like moving around on the horses and stuff. And like, there's all these great, interesting things happening. You have Tyrion's reactions to all of it, and Jon's reaction. All that stuff's fucking great. You have the tension of what is Tyrion going to try and make a move?
Kill her,
and then you have Arya kind of moving through. So you have all these working parts, and that scene is just, all of it works, and it's easy to follow, and it looks great. And it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here the whole time going, this show. And then you have the great scene at the opening of the episode where Tyrion finds Jaime and Cersei in the rubble and balls.
That was a great shot.
And it's such a tragic, wonderful moment that it's just like, give the goddamn guy an Emmy, you know? And then there's the great scene with him and Jon discussing whether or not, you know, which I thought was just really well written for talking about writing. And it's just like...
But I love that it was also misleading because, you know, you actually thought that Jon drank the Kool-Aid and, you know, and even up to the point where he kisses her, says, you will always be my queen. And then boom, he's like, yeah, this is the real deal that I'm going to have to do.
I also love that she never gets to sit on the throne.
Yes, that's right.
Which is another...
Now, and what's your... What happened?
Oh, my mic just... Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there it goes.
There it is. Okay,
and what's your reaction or what you felt about... what's his name?
Drogon.
Drogon does.
Oh, the other thing, which I haven't in my notes, this fucking amazing scene where Jon walks up to the throne room and Drogon comes out of the ash. Holy shit!
Fuck yeah, that was right.
That's amazing. Like I just like conceptually and the execution of it, it's like, God, come on, guys. Like you're telling me that that's not really fucking impressive? Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a great meme of it going around online where it's like, I love Dark Souls. I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls, and there's a great like it basically is that shot and it has the Dark Souls HUD on it, and then like when Drogon like gets up, it like so anytime in Dark Souls when you fight a boss, like its health bar pops up at the bottom and it says the name and everything, and there's somebody's like imposed that onto that scene, which is really fucking funny. It's just like Drogon, it has his whole health there, and like just in the way that it's like over the shoulder of Jon, like totally looks like Dark Souls 2. Great. Anyway, but yeah, that's just. Again, it's like these are these moments that are like, I'll never forget that moment. Like that's a great fucking moment in television. I just can't. Like I love movies. Like I know you've never even fucking seen Lord of the Rings. I love those films.
I saw the first one,
and I think I know that you hate it, but I think those are like masterpieces, and I love that kind of fantasy, and I think that those movies do that really well. But then there's these things in Game of Thrones where they're exceeding all of what that series accomplished.
My sister always tells me, "Oh, how can you love Game of Thrones and not love Lord of the Rings?" I'm like, Game of Thrones is like here. I mean, to me,
You may need to revisit that, though, honestly.
So you think that Lord of the Rings is better than Game of Thrones?
I think they're on equal ground.
Okay,
I think
so
they're
you're
both
saying
really
equal.
amazing.
Okay, as long as you say that, I'll be fine.
yeah.
I'll win.
Lord of the Rings those are perfect films. I love those movies.
I like the first film. I just didn't like the extended cut. That was like it got a little crazy. But yeah, no. I don't like I said. I think Game of Thrones was fine. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I love the ending. I love that it ended dark. I told you it would end dark.
But I also love the montage with all three of them getting ready. And that's a great piece of editing.
Amazing.
And with the Game of Thrones theme running underneath all of it. And it's like what a great way to end the show.
Subtle, and it wasn't like the actual main theme. It was like a variation of the theme, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was
really
amazing.
subtle and really clever. Yeah, again, it's like there's so many good choices. And I'm not fully defending all the choices made here. Like I get it. There's something like I wish that this were 2 more episodes. Like
I agree.
Like, I wish it were.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair argument. But what's there is really fucking good. And I think we're not giving it enough credit.
Yeah. No. I got you, bro. So that was Game of Thrones, the final season, which so now opens up room to watch another series. There's a lot of series coming out. The Watchmen.
I want to see Chernobyl is what I'm going to go
Chernobyl,
and watch.
that started. Yeah, that's up and out.
Apparently that's really fucking good too. It looks great.
And The Deuce. I got to watch the season 2 of The Deuce. I still haven't seen that yet. But
I don't remember. Go watch Barry, though. Barry's really good.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
It's an
too,
easy watch. It's like 30-minute episodes.
Yeah, that's why I like the 30-minute
only 2 seasons, and it's just really good television.
You can binge watch it, yeah.
Totally. Yep. Well, that's
all right, guys. So,
that's about it. I mean, I think we've covered enough on this episode.
2-hour long episode, bro. We got to cut it out.
Hopefully the audio's sounding a little bit better now.
Yeah.
We didn't turn the air conditioning on, so it's fucking hot in here.
I'm falling asleep too. I've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning. But yes, take it easy. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. And until next time, I'm Carlos Hernandez.
I'm Jeremy Knight.
And this was Indecisive Cinema, episode 28.